They were just right place, right time. Go on. Like guys, saw one the other day, giant. And he's like, man, I just sat down and killed the biggest buck of my life. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, there's somebody like me, like crying into their pillow tonight because of the way that happened.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
Should be no surprise to anyone listening to this that back with Hoyt another season. I'm actually going to be shooting the AX2 aluminum this year.
You traitor.
But you're still going RX9.
Yeah, blacked out as always.
Blacked out. Yeah. Big surprise for everyone.
80 pounds. Big surprise. Yeah.
But seriously, man, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Every year it seems like we get a new Hoyt bow in our hands, and they're always a step above the last and just a step above everybody else.
Yeah, they're so consistent, man. Just their processes get better, every year. And we've really been excited about, as we've grown with Hoyt, we've brought some others in with us. And we just feel like the Hoyt family is growing, like the community, and we're really excited about the people that are involved, excited to be a part of that company. And it's really awesome.
So for anyone that's excited about Hoyt, like Jared and I are, you can use the code HUNTR, HUNTR, on Hoyt.com.
Get serious, get Hoyt.
And we're back.
Hey.
HUNTR Podcast, episode 288, as we kind of keep each other in line there.
288, it's a good number.
Yeah.
We're rolling, buddy.
Well beyond the reigns of possibility for deer.
Rolling, buddy. What is today? The
14th?
We're quickly approaching the halfway mark, is what I was thinking.
All over it.
We're all over it.
All over at this point.
Well, before we get going, I will thank everybody for being here. Whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast, those are the three main platforms that we drop these episodes on. We do that every Tuesday and Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you've written us on Instagram DM or the website, those are the two that we check the most frequently. I'll apologize to everybody whose email is starred in our inbox right now. I flag them. You know what I mean?
Quite a few of them.
There's a couple. We'll get back to those here at some point, but appreciate you guys reaching out. We have some HUNTR merch on the website, and it's just wearehunter.com. A lot of you guys have bought that stuff. That's super cool. It's fun to see people wearing our gear, and you can also use code HUNTR, HUNTR, on any of our partners' websites for discount in some way, shape, or form. And other than that, here we go. Mid-November. I don't...
Should
we just real quick? Can we?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, here, you can. Well,
no, it's yours. It's yours. Yeah,
we got him. We got the big 11, which he's technically a 12 point, but we're not very good at naming them. We just always called him the big 11. And on the fourth all day sit this past week here, we finally caught up with him at 9.
Did the thing.
9:30. He did the thing, and we just, dude, in classic rut fashion, in classic, Jared, that's my style. You know what I mean? Just freaking get in a spot and sit them out. And
you changed the day before, right?
I did. Wind, wind drove me out of that spot, and which fortunately, I got lucky that he didn't do it that day. I mean, honestly, the wind that I switched for, like it would have been fine, for where he came from, essentially. But in theory, not what I wanted for the spot. So yeah, I bounced around the day before, and I still sat all day, but in two different spots, and then came back to this one. I got the wind back on whatever it was, Wednesday. And
still kind of dicey though, right? Because of the creek.
Well, it was pretty close to what I thought I wanted. I think that probably is the right wind for that, but I mean, they can come from anywhere. So
yeah, I mean, the only other one would be like a south to blow it over the CRP field. But then if they're in front of you,
well, that's right, and that's the south is what I had on Tuesday. That's what I switched out of it for. But yeah, so we got a guest today, so we're not gonna like cut into their time, with that story and stuff. We'll do Hunt Companion, and we'll probably do a quick debrief and stuff on it. I have some footage from this hunt here, probably that we'll share at some point. But I mean, dude, that's one of my biggest, definitely.
Yeah.
One that I'm pretty proud of. So.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest buck on any of our Illinois farms for sure.
At the moment.
I think for sure.
At the moment.
Yeah,
I think for sure at the moment, but I think there's more. I think there's plenty of season left.
I don't get caught up on the what ifs yet.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's not just like pushing on a prayer. It's like we've got historical information.
They got to be alive.
They got to be alive.
And we have no confirmation of that yet.
No, we don't. But that's deer hunting. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
The unknown. That's what keeps us dreaming. And we're heading to Kansas next week, so that's kind of where we're at in the season here right now. We've got Emily Schaad Konkler on the podcast. More Emily Schaad is probably what most people know her as.
Yep.
Southeast
Ohio girl.
Ohio. Yep. So, and I think we've just been seeing her stuff on Instagram for a while now, and it's like, I mean, dude, there's not a lot of females out there. Certainly not as many as there are dudes that are just killing, just straight up killers. And we've been impressed from a distance for a while now, and
and I think just the thought process around like the all season, our mindset, which is like we live deer hunting and management year round, and I think Emily and I connected on Instagram because we were both in the eye of the hurricane for EHD this year. And so that's kind of how it popped up. Somebody had wrote me.
That's right.
I can't remember who it was. Somebody had wrote me and said, hey, you should reach out to Emily. She's basically in a world of hurt from EHD this year. And at the same time, we had kind of been toiling around with like, man, it's happening enough that there's got to be something out there. I'm not saying from like a cure standpoint, but something to mitigate or to offset. And so, I think I shared with her like some of the neem oil stuff that I had been doing, but at the time, I think it was too little too late. She had kind of already been in the heat of the battle with EHD at that point for at least some of her farms. And so, that's how we crossed paths. And then, she'll fill us in, but here a couple weeks ago, I know that she basically gained access to another farm that was, I would say a distance away from her normal core area, and she killed a really good buck. And so, it was a good example of, boy, you go into the season with all these high hopes, and then EHD just crushes them, the dream more than anything. And, she kept fighting on it. And so even pre-podcast, we were talking about just her area and what's going on with some of the harvest numbers we'll get into on these counties. And yeah, it's a really tough spot for an area that is so enriched with deer hunting. And, whether you're talking about residents or non-residents, I mean, that Southeast Ohio area has just historically been high deer numbers and a lot of deer hunters down there. And this year it for sure changes one way or the other, whether people are still hunting and there's just not deer, or there's not deer and people aren't hunting. And we're kind of in the midst of that at this point.
Well, dude, I think like on one hand, there is definitely a reality, like a mortality even to these animals.
They all die.
Well, if they die,
they all die.
And to my second point, though, there also, I think so much of deer hunting is attitude. And it's not like, hey, just like, my dad, in love, he's just like been waiting for the deer to walk out of the timber.
He's the eternal optimist.
For 10 years that doesn't exist. I'm like, dude, he's not there. It's the eternal optimism. And so, but somewhere in between, I think the journey of bow hunting, of, especially of whitetails, is like, it's enduring. It's a lot of heartache, frankly, especially when you're trying to kill animals of a 5-6 year old age class. It's like the odds of them living to that are so rare. And
for them
to do it on a property that you own and manage and have like access to, and even whether you're hunting with a group or whatever, it's like for you to be the one that ends up in the tree stand when that thing walks past you in daylight after it's been alive for for that many years. It's just, dude, it's really freaking hard.
Yeah.
And so especially on a year like, you guys all had down there in Southern Ohio, it's just like, that's awful. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really hard to go into the season with any kind of optimism on that. But I think Emily's a great example of, hey, she was able still to find one. You know what I mean? I'm sure that had something to do with attitude and persistence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
it could easily just fold it up.
It's a long season. So, I mean, dude, you got to keep your head up, and, things can happen, and, you just got to be there.
Absolutely. Well, let's, without further delay, let's bring Emily on. Okay. Emily, we got you.
I am here.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you coming on this morning. And like we said, probably the most informal podcast you'll do, because it's just conversational based. And it's hard for a lot of us. Like Jared and I get on these little runs there at the beginning, and I'm like, boy, I'm sure the guest has something to say already. And we're just like already diving in deep. But we appreciate you coming on. And obviously I'm excited about this one just because, like I said, we kind of connected there on Instagram from the EHD stuff that's happening in the area. But just for our listeners, you don't have to be super specific, but just give some background on your area and kind of where you're from.
Yeah, so I kind of reside down here in Southeast Ohio, so I've been down here pretty much my whole life, whitetail hunting and whatnot. But yeah, we're down here in the steep hill country. It's kind of like West Virginia a little bit. Hence the accent that I have.
I didn't notice.
That everybody makes fun of so much. It's a Southern accent. But
yeah. Do you identify as a Southerner down there or not quite?
I mean, I don't know. People think I'm like from really far down south. I'm like, no, I'm in Ohio, and they don't believe me.
Yeah, so. They're like, no, there's no way. Like Alabama, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So yeah, and I mean that we talk about Ohio a lot, obviously, on this podcast, just because Jared's got property up in Carroll and Columbiana, and I'm in Meigs. And like the cool thing about Ohio, and especially when we talk about those two areas, is like they're so dramatically different. Like my area is much like yours, which is, you know, I call it more hill country, you know, steep hills, like no ag, some cattle pasture, and like woods. That's it.
Yep, 100%. I mean, that's kind of how it is here. I mean, we have the river bottom and stuff through here, and that's usually where the agriculture is. But for the most part, it's just, you know, like you said, you know, cattle pastures or a little brushy field here, and everything else is like super steep hardwoods. So.
Yep.
So is there much of that diversity down there? Like how much, you know, or timber would you say as opposed to like brushy fields, pasture, you know, type ground?
I mean, I'd say like 85% is probably timber.
Okay. So just there's here and there, you got a couple, old, you know, old pasture fields and stuff like that. Yeah. How extreme is the topography down there? Is it very hilly, or would you say like some areas more than others?
It just depends, like where I'm at here, like behind my house. If you go, I mean, it's like straight off into the bottom. Like my farm that I have in the next county over, there's part of it that you cannot even actually walk over. It's so steep. It's like a cliff. You have to go like all the way around. So it's really like depends, to be honest.
Yeah. And so, Emily, is that a family farm that you guys are on down there? Is that you and your husband have bought some land over time, or how did you kind of come to be where you're at?
So like my family that has like all the crop farming operation, they have a ton of farms and stuff, but I've never hunted any of them. They lease them out to other people and stuff. So I've never have hunted any of those, acreages. Pretty much like I bought my farm 5 years ago in the next county over, and then we just have like 10 acres here at the house. And then a little family, like 35 acres across the road, but everything else that I've hunted, I've just gained permission from neighbors, farmer down the road and stuff like that. So everything's pretty like smaller chunks that I pretty much permission hunt for the most part.
Awesome. It makes me wonder if there is a disparity between like the permission, like the percentage of yeses that you would get as a female versus the remainder of other guys. Do you feel like you have a lot of success? Like, does that have anything to do with like the fact that you're a female, or?
Not.
It's harder
really.
to say no, right? To it.
I would say it's her family background getting the yeses more than more than female. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, the bad thing about here is there's so many people that hunt here. Like there's people that hunt every property, everything leased. Like it's really hard, even for me, like to even find a place that I can hunt because there's already like 10 other people that hunt it, or it's leased out, or they got this or that. Like. I mean, really, there's only 2 properties that I've even been able to get permission on. Everything else is a no.
Yeah.
Wow. So. How big's the farm that you personally own in the county over?
It's just around 40 acres. It's a smaller farm, but it does have about like 9 acres of tillable. Okay. And then the rest is hardwoods and a big creek bottom and stuff in it.
Cool.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, why do you say that the family type? And forgive me for not knowing. Is your family a big? They have a big
farming background.
Yeah, they own and operate the Shad's dairy farm and crop farming operation.
And I've heard of that. I think that's a big deal, right? Like
it's prominent,
pretty big operation. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hey, you might like to know, my wife and I run an ice cream shop in Pittsburgh, and it's all soft serve, and so we get all of our mix from a local dairy, up here to us.
Okay.
Turner,
cool, yeah.
Turner Dairy is, if you've heard of them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My family recently just got out of the whole dairy side. They sold out just because they're getting so much older. They're in their 70s and stuff now, and there's nobody really to take over. So they sold the whole dairy part really, and kind of quit that. And now they're just focusing on the crop farm side. So.
Okay. And are you involved with that business at all, or are you totally separate?
Yeah. The last couple of years I've worked for them quite a bit. Just on the crop farm side. I never did any of the dairy part. I just did all the crop farming operation stuff. So.
And then you also work for Novix, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's my full-time job. Mm-hmm.
Oh, right on. And what do you do for Novix?
Technically community manager, kind of jack of all trades. So I run all the customer service, from home here, and I do some stuff with social media, shows, just a little bit of everything really.
That's cool. And that was recently acquired by, what's the new owner's name? He's a Whitetail Edge guy, right?
Yeah. Jeff Klump.
Jeff Klump. Yeah.
Yep. We've got Dwayne Jones coming in studio this afternoon.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yep.
Dwayne.
Old Dwayne.
Yep. We call him Dewey. He used to work for Novix too at the warehouse.
Yep.
So we moved back to Indiana. So.
Yeah. So him and his son are coming in this afternoon to do one. We're going to talk about his short but successful Iowa trip, and
yeah,
we love
3
him.
hours of sitting time that he had to put in.
He's freaking awesome. So so we've got him coming in this afternoon, which will be cool. But
cool, yeah.
So obviously you've got some history on that farm that you bought. I mean, that's not a big parcel, especially for that area that we're talking about. I mean, what drew you into that piece in particular? Was it just kind of how it laid out, or was it surrounding? I mean, what made you think like, hey, this is going to be a good hunting farm?
Well, I've been looking for property for a while, and it's really hard to find something that has tillable ground on it, which I wanted to be able to put crops, food plots, different things like that. That way you could have food for the deer.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I ended up with it. And it was like close enough to me that it was convenient. So I felt like it was a no-brainer. I needed to just jump on the opportunity, because everything else is like super steep, all timber. It's everything's been stripped and logged. There's nothing left. It's a mess. There's nothing tillable, and it's literally just pointless. So that's why I kind of really jumped on that opportunity when it came out.
That's the discussion that Jared and I always have, because his farm is primarily open. My farm is primarily timber, and so it's funny of like we go back and forth of like, which is better, right? Would you rather have more open ground, or would you rather have more timber ground? And it's hard because like I just opened, I guess it was last year, I opened 4 plots on this ridge on my farm, which totaled about, I don't know, 3.5 or 4 acres. And number one, it wasn't cheap, right? With the removal of the timber and the grinding of the stumps and everything on that side. And then even still, like it's like 3 or 4 acres and in 200, so it's not like I've got anywhere to plant like a giant destination field that can sustain deer, year round.
Yeah. And I feel like it's getting harder and harder, especially here, to find bigger parcels of land for sale. Unfortunately, it seems like the bigger farms, once, the older people pass away, then the real estate agents get a hold of it and they break it up into 4 or 5 different parcels. That way they can get more money out of it. And the next thing you know, you had one chunk of ground and now there's 6 different owners of that property. And that's what we get a lot down here. It's really hard to find anything that's even close to 100 acres. Everything is 30 here, 20 there, 10 there. And it makes the hunting that much harder, especially to manage to grow big deer, because you have 20 people hunting a very small type of area.
Yeah. That's happened to us recently. We've got a large population of Amish that truthfully, I don't think it's always been there. It's really been over the last 5 or 10 years. It's like they've moved into that area, and there's been some like, I don't know what you would call them, like higher end Amish like developers. You know what I mean? So they're invested in large tracts of property. They bought a 2,500 acre property recently that was previously owned by my uncle. All one owner, and that's been hacked into, I don't know, 40 different chunks. I mean, at least, and they sell, for a premium. And unfortunately, a lot of them they'll sell for premium for top dollar, thinking, oh, it's great deer hunting ground, and it's not. It's just it's pretty terrible actually. But you can go and dump a corn pile on it next to something that might be decent and pull the last remaining resource out of it. So, dude,
I know.
In Ohio, like we're just in a really bad situation as far as like you can't own enough ground, to really do, I think, what we all, would like to see happen, to be hunt mature bucks on natural movement patterns and grow them to a certain age. I I haven't seen it. I haven't seen where it's happened, where anybody's doing it successfully, unless consistently.
This state it's really hard just because of the regulations and the baiting and all the tiny small parcels, and you have 10 parcels next to each other and everybody has a truck sized corn pile on each parcel. And, it's impossible to get any deer nowadays, half the time even here, to live past 2.5 because the neighbors will shoot anything with antlers. And it's super frustrating. I understand, if you're happy with it, great, but everybody wants to kill a big buck, but nobody has the discipline to grow a big buck in order to kill a big buck, I guess. Yes. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's a great point. And I mean, we'll talk about EHD here in a second, but put that aside, for the doe population is out of control in Ohio because nobody wants to kill a doe, right? Everybody wants to kill a big buck, like you said, Emily, and everybody's sitting on a corn pile with a cell camera. And so they know that there's bucks showing up at that corn pile. They're not going to kill a doe. They're just not going to do it. And the state has a really tough time processing that. They're like, well, we're just making it so easy for them to kill does. They just don't want to do it. And I'm like, yeah, because they don't care. They don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people are, antler hunting and stuff. And I understand, if people don't need the meat or whatever, then, they don't want to shoot a doe because why shoot something if you're not going to make use of it unless you donate it, which I understand. But yeah, our doe population before this EHD hit was so out of balance. We had so many does and no bucks. I would try to shoot does, but it's I'm only one person,
right?
But nobody else would shoot does either. So and everybody would shoot every size buck that we had. So we ended up with one buck and 30 does.
Yeah.
So it was bad.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the EHD thing. We can talk about the positives if there are some on it, but just overall from the state, they really have to figure out what they're going to do there because, barring something like EHD happening, and we talked to Mike Rex here not too long ago, the commissioner, ultimately 70% of the license bill is being footed by non-residents. And that in itself is a problem because I would say 99% of non-residents surely aren't coming to Ohio to kill a doe. Right? They're coming to kill a buck, period.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. None of my out-of-state neighbors are shooting does.
No, they're not. And it's that is, I'm sure there are some technically I'm a non-resident landowner there. And I'm thinking about the management on that property. But ultimately most aren't. They're, Southeast Ohio is also a big hotbed for outfitters. And even in the stage that we're in this year, I know several outfitters that are just, instead of killing 3 and 4-year-old deer, they're now killing 2 and 3-year-old deer, right? Basically the clientele is not going to come in and not kill a deer because there's no 4-year-olds. They'll kill a 2 or 3-year-old instead.
Yeah, especially if they pay $2,000-$3,000 for however much they pay.
Absolutely.
I can't blame them.
No.
But yeah, it should be up to the outfitter to regulate that a little better or something to where, they can let some deer grow. But
Emily,
I guess it's a funny thing.
Can you explain to us, just help us understand the dynamic of prior to this year, what would you expect to see on your farm or, other, just what's the temperature on your farm specifically or in that area of are you able to find 4 or 5, older age class bucks? You've already said there was an overabundance of does, but kind of what would you expect season to season? And then maybe run us through what happened here this past year and kind of now what you're seeing this year.
Yeah, so it's kind of changed over the years. Our population used to be more balanced, like we talked about before. We used to have a lot more bucks. The buck-to-doe ratio used to be pretty even. And then over the last few years here, we got where the buck population is extremely slim because everybody has to shoot a buck no matter what size it is. And then nobody was shooting does. So in the end, the last few years, we haven't had a rut. The rut has been terrible. I've absolutely hated to hunt the rut here because you don't even see any deer because there's so many does and so little bucks that they don't even have to chase.
Yeah, they're not working hard.
Yeah. So, and it seems like the last few years as well, it's hard to get those bucks to 5.5. Obviously, I have gotten deer much older. Ghost that I killed was 8.5, Freak was 7.5. I've killed some old deer.
That's crazy.
But they were in some areas that they really like got lucky. They were hard to get areas where they managed to outsmart everybody and survive. But the majority of the deer seem to don't really make it past 3.5. But this year I actually had 3 mature deer, target deer, that I was excited to chase this year. I had 2 5.5-year-olds and 1 buck that I was guessing he was at least 6.5. He's been mature for several years.
Yeah.
But then the EHD came, and then that took care of that. But yeah, it's just been really hard to get mature deer because we just can't get people to pass them up.
Yeah, I gotcha. And your neighbors are, you mentioned a few times, like predominantly non-residents. Like these are people that are a lot of the properties in that area getting bought by non-residents for hunting. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yep. There's the property behind me sold to a big group of non-residents, and it's pretty small acreage, so it's a little lopsided there. But then there's a lot of leasing and stuff that goes around close by me here that they all lease out to out-of-staters and stuff too. So
where would you say most people are coming from? Is it like predominantly like PA, like Wisconsin, Minnesota type stuff, New York?
I mean, there's North Carolina, New Jersey, Florida, Indiana. I mean, it's just literally everywhere, it seems like. Interesting.
And do you think the hunting is better there than where they're coming from? Like, do you think that it's like there's a reason they're coming there? Because truthfully, I'm like, I don't see that a whole lot. I think, I mean, there definitely is some of it, where I'm at in eastern central Ohio, but there seems to be more of a pull like to southern Ohio. It just got more of a reputation. Like people come from out of state.
Well, it's cheaper land prices
and
for the biggest.
Maybe that's it too.
Yeah, it's cheaper land prices, and that's where the majority of the public land is.
Yeah, yeah. You've got Wayne National Forest, which is a giant swath of public land down there.
And how far are you very close to that?
What used to be AP, but the Jesse Owens and stuff like that. You have the wildlife areas. So the biggest majority of the public land in Ohio is down here, which is a huge draw for everybody in general. I think that's why most of the out-of-staters come here, is because of that. And then they've kind of trickled out into, leasing private ground and farms and stuff like that. So they've made their way out way beyond the public, I guess.
I think it's definitely the hotbed too for, and no knock to them, but for the southern guys, right? Like if you're in, whether you're in Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, like it's, first of all, it's a heck of a lot closer to get to southern Ohio just over the river than it is up towards where you're at. And for a lot of those guys, like if you're down south, like your rut is going to be delayed. So they're coming up first week of November, last part of October, whatever, to hunt southern Ohio, thinking they're capturing that before then they go back and catch the peak of theirs as well.
Dude, those border areas are weird, Emily. We hunted southern Illinois a couple of years ago, and like in my head, coming from Pennsylvania or whatever, I'm like, in my head, I'm just thinking Illinois. I'm thinking like farm country, like fence lines, like we'd been to Kansas and some other areas and stuff. When we got out there, I couldn't believe it was like voodoo-y.
It was cypress swamps.
They were the cypress swamps. I was just like, this feels like the South. Like it feels like remote. like the towns felt like almost like dark. Like there was a darkness to it. And most of the guys that we ran into were from like Louisiana,
Mississippi,
Alabama, from the South. It just felt very. Everybody talked like you.
Yeah.
Not a bad way, but yeah, it's those border areas are interesting. The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Predator Camo.
Man, this one feels good, right? I know people have been looking at this picture over your shoulder for a while now. I think that was 2018, but we just, over the last, how many years, keep coming back to Predator Camo because it's been so damn good for us.
No doubt. I think we bought our first set off of Jen at the Archer Trade Show almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Jen's still with the company, and the patterns have, only improved since then. They actually were recently acquired within the past couple of years. We've had a chance this past year to go and meet with new ownership, talk about redesigning a lot of the old lines, plans for new patterns, all of the above. So really excited about what's to come, not only this coming year, but in years to come. There's a lot of good stuff coming from Predator.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, it's always been going back to that breakup pattern, right? That's the historic look, whether you're talking about the spring greens or brown deceptions or fall grays. Yeah. I mean, that breakup is really what's been so powerful for us in a tree stand. And right now, they're letting anyone use the code HUNTR on the Predator Camo website and get 20% off any of the lines, including all the new stuff that dropped here in July.
Be the Predator. Well, what do you think? You talked about the decline of the age class of bucks and the increase of like the doe population there where you're at, do you think that is tied pretty closely to a lot of the non-residents moving in, or what do you think is kind of the root of that?
No, honestly, not really, because none of the locals are shooting does either. So it's not really the non-residents that's increasing the doe population. Like, it seems like, yeah, they're putting a hurting on, our younger age class of bucks. But when it comes to the increase of does, like, everybody's guilty, resident or non-resident, of not shooting does. Like, I'm guilty. I don't shoot enough does that I need to, but then I also don't need the meat either. So, I would just have to donate them and such. But, I mean, we're all guilty of it, really.
Do you think that, I know we've talked about it in a couple other states, it's been linked to, like, less processors or the cost of processing? Like, we cut up our own deer, but a lot of people still are going to processors for that. Or is it just simply, like, people just aren't eating venison as much?
I don't know. I think it's more of, it seems like hunting is more of a big antler fad, or an antler fad nowadays than what it used to be back in the day when people used to do deer drives and group hunt. And, they used to kill deer, for everybody to have meat for the year. And nowadays I feel like that whole tradition is changed, and there's so much, TV, social media stuff going on that everybody's in it just for antlers and stuff a lot nowadays, in comparison to back when I first started hunting. It was just completely opposite, it seemed like.
Yeah, we always try to, like, put our thumb on that. Like, in the industry for sure is to blame the most, but it, for longest time it was like, if you killed a buck, like, that was awesome, but you also killed does. Like, you just hunted, right? You were just out there hunting, and even now it's like, to think of the number of, like, 5-acre parcels that have 3 corn pals and 5 cell cameras on 5 acres, and they're waiting for, 130-inch 3-year-old. It's like, you realize, like, you'd be lucky to even have deer on 5 acres. Like, that's just, it's an unnatural thing. And then what you're trying to put in perspective of what you're harvesting, like, really doesn't even make sense to what you have there.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. It's just, and then, properties have changed too. Like I said, all the properties have been broken up into smaller parcels, and people don't allow other people to hunt, which I'm not a gun hunter. I'll be 100% honest. I haven't gun hunted deer in like 18 years, 19 years. It's just not something that I enjoy, but others do enjoy it. But just with, all the multiple ownerships of properties and leasing and stuff, those folks that like to gun hunt and deer drive and stuff, they don't have access to all the land and stuff like they used to be able to do deer drives and knock the population down and kill the does. So.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. And I mean, we've talked about Ohio's long season, goes into early February. And, even if there were doe seasons that were put in there, if there's a valid buck season where I could sit on a corn pile with a crossbow, like, odds are and I have a buck tag, like, that's what I'm doing, right? Even if you put a doe gun season. So unless you literally go to a point where there's a stoppage in the buck season period, and you open up like a 7-day or 10-day doe season, people just aren't going to go out there and shoot does. That's just not the goal. And as much as, like, from a management or biological standpoint, we want to believe that people will go out and do it, they're not. And I think that's the big disconnect on the DNR side.
Well, Emily, what's your guys' like the family attitude? So, like you said, even recently you moved out of the dairy portion of it, so now you're exclusively agriculture as far as the family business. What's the attitude towards deer and deer hunting in general?
So actually none of the Shad family that does all of the farming operation, none of them actually hunt, but they lease everything out because they want to keep the deer population controlled, just because it does so much damage to the beans and the corn and everything. And then they're obviously losing money. So, most farmers, they're wanting a push to get the numbers down for sure. So I think a lot of them were excited when the EHD come through, but then it hurt a lot of them too, because they lease their ground out, and if there's no deer, people aren't wanting to pay or lease either. So
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting topic to dive into. We've done it before, so we don't have to beat it to death today. But it's like, I think most people in your family's position would be like all for things that they perceive would make deer easier to kill, like corn piles, for instance. Ethics aside or whatever, they're like, whatever helps them kill more deer, we're all for it. But on the backside, I think Jeremy and I feel pretty strongly that it actually discourages doe harvest and just deer harvest in general, because guys are just going to dump their corn piles and wait for a big buck. That's what they want to hunt. And so the reality is it has the opposite effect. Is it displaces other, local hunters, gun hunters, whatever, that would just shoot deer, and it causes the doe population to flourish, so it has the opposite effect. You lose hunters and you have more deer on the landscape when you introduce things that make it easier, especially corn piles.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. Well, can we pivot on? Can you tell us a little bit about, so all three bucks died of EHD this year, is that right?
Yep. All three of my target deer. I was super excited. I finally had like 3 mature deer to hunt because, like I said, sometimes it's hard to even find one some years. But this year I had 3. I was super excited for it. And the one I called Split G2, I have multiple sets of sheds and stuff off of him, tons of history. Like I had him on camera literally every single day in daylight from the time that he started growing his antlers all the way up to when he died. And it was super depressing because once he disappeared, the buck that he had ran with was a really big, beautiful 8-point. I found him dead, and I knew that Split G2 was dead too because he disappeared before that one. So, the EHD hit super early. Like in my farm, I technically noticed the first case like July 13th, July 14th. When I had to go. The DNR officer had to come out and put her down. And then when I got to thinking about it, I'm like, I feel like I've been having a lot of deer disappear recently, but I was like, EHD doesn't make sense because we had such a wet spring and summer all the way up to that point. I was like, it just wasn't making sense. And then after that, it's just like more and more deer just disappeared. And then it moved up farther to where my place is here, and it just cleaned house. Like within 2 weeks, 85% of the deer were dead. It was absolutely insane.
Well, it was such a weird thing. Like you said, I remember vividly, like right around the 4th of July, like up until the 4th of July, it had been so wet. And then right around then it shut off. And obviously a week later, like you said, July 13th, like you're not thinking about that shut off causing, mud flats and EHD and stuff, because it's been a week without rain. But then all of a sudden you trickle through July and then into August. And I remember watching, like, mainly because it was my food plots, right? But I was in Meigs County and I was watching like where the rain would hit, and like some of Athens, some of Morgan, some of Washington, some of Meigs would catch these like stray storms, which in theory was like, oh, that's going to be great for food plots. But in reality was just continuing to re-fire up this EHD through July and August into early September. Because of the weather conditions. It would just pound heavy rain and then dry up and get hot for the next week or whatever.
Yeah, and honestly, I think because we were in such an extreme drought here last year, one of the worst ever recorded, and then we ended up with all of this rain in the spring and summer, and I don't know if it has anything to do with each other or not, but it's a coincidence. The counties that were in such an extreme drought last year had an overabundance of rain this year, and then we just had this ungodly hatch of like midges that just wiped all of the deer out. Like,
yeah, well, so like we don't know well enough to tie it back to last year or not, but Jeremy, you can correct me on the stat here, but it was something like these counties that got hit the worst, like this spring, whatever it is, January through, end of June, had record rainfall, like by far in those months. And then, or no, forgive me, if you include these months that the drought was, it still was record rainfall, like over those months, which just tells you how much rain we got earlier in the year versus, how little so it seems like it was those extremes, like to have that much rain early on in the year and then that little rain later in the year is what is correlated with the places that got hit the hardest.
So this was, and Emily, you probably saw this. So this was, Clint had actually done this presentation in EHD. This was in early September. And basically it showed the map from like 2017 through last year. But the primary thing was like, here were the major factors is essentially warmer than average spring temperatures. So the midges become active sooner. Higher than average precipitation in July, and then lower than average precipitation in August. Like those are the 3 factors that they're looking at. And if you look at it, we were 3 degrees warmer in 2025 than the average for the spring. In July, we were 4 inches greater in rain, which is basically double what it was supposed to be. And in August, we literally had no rain compared to 3 inches. So like the perfect storm essentially added up. And you know, what's kind of interesting, and I don't know if I've said this before yet or not. So do you know Madison Raber at all? Do you know Madison?
Yes.
So Madison was my timber guy in Meigs County, and he and I become really good friends. So Madison is actually coming down, I think, if this is airing when I think it does, like the day before this, and he's going to survey my property with thermal drones before gun season. And so, knock on wood, prior to, actually when we were having the conversation, Emily, online about like, hey, there's got to be some way to mitigate this stuff, or like, what can we do? I was basically tracking 3 4-year-olds and 2 5.5-year-olds on my 230 acres in Meigs. And the 3 4-year-olds, which are really the deer that I'm trying to get to 5, all were fine. Like I saw them a lot, right? I still see most of them a lot. The 2 5-year-olds kind of mid-August ended up vanishing on me. You know, and I didn't think anything of it. One of them I didn't really know. The other one was a homebody, so it was kind of weird that he disappeared. But I had a 6 or 7-year-old show up that is a homebody, you know, right at the beginning of October. So as the season kind of goes in, I'm like, boy, knock on wood, I think I got spared here. Because I'm seeing the bucks that I thought I was going to see. And the big thing is we didn't get the rain in July that your county's got. Like I'm in Western Meigs, and we missed every one of those storms. At the time, I'm kicking myself because my food plots are just getting torched, right? But in theory, I'm like, I didn't get double the rain. I got like an inch more than normal versus 4 inches more than normal. So maybe that saved me. But where I'm at now, and I don't know, we also had a bumper acorn crop year again. So like, who knows? But like, if you go and hunt my 230 acres, like the 2 or 3 times that I've been on it, like I haven't even seen a deer. Like I'm getting them on camera. Like there are deer on there. Those 4-year-olds are on there. But like you feel like the property doesn't have the deer population that it should have had. There have been some external factors. Like I have about 400 acres around me that they chipped to the ground last year. So it was like bare dirt last year. And then this year, obviously it's, 1-year-old new clear cut looking stuff. So there's a lot of food and some cover there. But I basically called Madison and I was like, hey man, I just kind of have to know. Like I know that I have bucks alive. Like I definitely didn't get hit as hard as Emily got hit, right? Like I didn't get, but I feel like I may have got hit harder than I initially thought because those 2 5-year-olds, never saw them again. No, I assume they died. And just like the overall, like if I look at even my 2 and 3-year-old age class, which is normally loaded, I've got like 3 or 4 2 and 3-year-olds. Like they're just not there. So Madison's going to come down. He's going to fly, and we'll probably share it somehow. I don't know how we'll go through it, but he's going to do a full survey of that area. My neighbors are going to get on board too. So we'll just be able to see like what's there. Like how are
you going to feel if he's like, yeah, here they're all here.
Well, that's what he did. So his property's in Morgan County, and he won't care. I'll read this to him. This is the text that he sent me the other day. I don't know how much he had a bunch of neighbors involved too. He said, I flew 700 acres and I found 35 deer, 7 bucks, including spikes on 700 acres in prime deer habitat. And he said, I think the biggest deer I found was 120-inch deer.
Yep. That's pretty accurate.
So, I mean, that's smoked. Like, and I think the hardest part for most people, including myself, and I'm sure for you too, Emily, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, is like, what's the future look like? Because if we talk to like a lot of our buddies in Iowa and Missouri who have gotten crushed previously, in 2 or 3 years, they have the biggest bucks that they've had in decades, right? Because of the resources available, the space available, etc. But there are places like Washington County, especially, that, I mean, we were talking about it pre-podcast. I think they're still under 100 deer checked in when last year they were over 600 deer checked in. I mean, the population is just torched at this point. So
not there.
Yeah. So in 2 or 3 years, are we really going to have giant, 200-inch 5-year-olds walking around?
What would you say that there was a high population of deer beforehand, or just in moderate or low?
Yeah, there was a pretty high population, a majority of it being does, obviously.
Yeah. Well, and that's maybe that's the silver lining in it, is dude, where we're at in Ohio, assuming it's similar numbers or in the same
You've got a high population.
There's way too many. Dude, you just don't need that many deer. We think we want to see deer when we go out and stuff, but we got to Illinois, where I would say, I think the population on our farm, we've never had a census or anything, but if I had to guess, I would say there's a third of the number of deer that I have in Ohio.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
It's for as much habitat as there, there's just not a lot of deer. There's enough, and we have some great bucks in Illinois, case in
clearly.
Here. And we have some great hunting experiences too, just because it's compared to,
it's balanced
compared to my home farm. We can actually get into areas. Dude, in Ohio, I can't go anywhere without busting out 5-6 does here, or 2-3 does here. It's honestly a problem, and I can only imagine how that translates to the herd dynamic. I'm it seems good that we have all these deer and stuff, but it's and that's where I think EHD can, not it's a good thing, but it's the silver lining on the back end is dude, you only need a few bucks to make it to a certain age class, and you don't need a lot of deer for that to happen. In fact, they may prefer it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the EHD obviously really sucks, because it did take such a high percentage of our deer out. It took all of the older age class of bucks out. There's no 4-year-olds, there's no 5-year-olds, nothing any older that made it. I've seen 1 3-year-old. Everything else is either 1 or 2-year-old that made it. Mostly 1 and 2-year-old. The only 3-year-old I've seen out of all these properties is just 1 3-year-old, and I know that he's 3. And he's not really a good genetic deer or anything, but it's the only one that made it. And it wiped all the older age class of does out as well. The only thing we're left with is some year-old does or fawns, mostly fawns, and a lot of the fawns didn't even make it either. It's pretty much all that we have left. And in the end, like you said, having a more balanced, less deer population is obviously better for the deer. You're going to have healthier deer. Your resources aren't going to get stripped as much as if you have, 50 does in this area eating all the browse and all that type of stuff. And they have said, there's proven studies that places that get hit hard with EHD end up having a lot bigger bucks in the end because of that, which I've seen in some areas firsthand as well. It's just, if we can get those, the problem is to get those 1 and 2-year-olds to that mature level is going to be the hard part, because people just
they're going to shoot them
get to that point.
Yeah, they're going to shoot. I mean, this year, in whatever, if we're airing this, I think Thanksgiving week, in a week, will be opening day of gun season in Ohio. There will be a lot of people out over corn pals, on food, whatever, right? And they're going to kill the biggest buck they see. If that's a 2-year-old, they're going to kill it.
100%.
That's the hardest part about this. And I know that they held meetings in Athens County where there were a lot of people that showed up and they were like, hey, shut it down, which of course the DNR is just not going to do. They won't do it. The move, which I think it got approved, but I don't even know, was that right before gun season, they're changing those counties from a 3 deer to a 2 deer. I ain't going to do anything. Right? No,
and I mean, you still obviously have the buck tag, and I mean,
that's
it's
all
not
they care about.
Do anything because there's no does anyway, so that decreasing it from 3 to 2 is not going to make any difference. And like you said, the first buck that these people see, they're like, oh my gosh, this is the biggest buck I've seen all year. I got to shoot it, and it's only 110 inches. So
dead.
So why?
It's like, if we could just get those bucks that we have left to maturity, we will have big deer. But to get everybody on the same page to just have discipline for a couple years or go elsewhere where there is deer and leave these places alone is really the hardest part.
It is.
Why does it have to be so hard, or such a bureaucratic process to just be like, hey guys, all the deer died, so no season this year? Why is that such a why is that so impossible?
License sales, money, revenue. Yeah.
You can't sell what you don't have.
Well, and the other thing is, and it's an
inventory problem.
Well, yeah. The other thing is that even though it did devastate a lot of county-wide stuff, like Washington County in general, it is still spotty, right? Like there's a chance that, a farm in Eastern Meigs got smashed. My farm is maybe halfway smashed, and then there's a farm that didn't even get touched, right? So like if you shut it down for the year, then all of a sudden it's like that farm that's overpopulated gets even more overpopulated.
Okay.
And the deer just aren't going to move. Like the other thing is I hear people talk all the time. They're like, well, they're just going to sponge effect across. Dude, those deer aren't going to move 15 miles from an overpopulated area to they're just not going to do it.
There's so many people that has told me that. And
they're not going to do it.
Crazy. They're like, oh, you'll have a buck show up. There'll be a buck that comes around. I'm like, there is no buck anywhere within 30 miles. They're not going to travel 30 miles to come here. Like, it's not going to happen.
No, this isn't a migration out of the high country down into the low valleys and stuff. Like, they're not going to do that.
That would be a super interesting study if they were able to see what that looks like. If a high number of deer were taken out of a certain area, how the surrounding deer reacted.
And here's the biggest thing, not in that habitat. Like we talk about some of these, like a Don Higgins farm in the middle of the Midwest where it's an island with just sea of ag around it. Like those deer might move 4 miles or 5 miles over the course of a couple days. In these areas that's pasture based and big timber based, and those deer, they move. But I mean, moving a mile in big timber is a long way for them. Moving a mile across an open ag field is nothing. And so the habitat in that
really?
Oh yeah, dude, they'll cross an ag field, a mile long ag field overnight. But I don't think that they'll move 2 miles in a.
Interesting. Isn't it more common belief that like deer in big timber move greater distance?
Yeah, but I don't think it's like straight line distance.
Okay.
Right? Like if they have a big ag field in front of them, they're going to walk across that big ag field versus like in timber, they're just going to meander and browse and cover ridges and stuff. So like if you think of like how those populations are going to lay out, I don't think that you're just going to see that herd that's didn't get touched all of a sudden just sponge effect down 3 or 4 miles away into another area. I just don't think they're going to move like that.
And if deer too, they're comfortable in a home range that they have, like if they have no need to move, they're not going to move just because there's no deer 2 miles over here. Like they don't know that. Like they're going to stay where they feel comfortable, where they know they have food. They have no reason to move and sponge out unless they run out of food or something and then they have to move to find some. But
right, which that if there was going to be a time that we see that movement happen, it's going to be in the next 6 to 12 weeks, right? Where food becomes lower in these big timber areas, when it's just purely browse. And if it's mature timbers and they don't have great browse, they'll move to clear cut areas. They'll move to any standing grain. Like you will see that. But I mean, I still don't think you're moving more than a couple miles. Like you're not moving 10 miles one way or the other.
Yeah. We're doing a lot of speculating about, there's probably some, I'm sure there's people that know more about this than us, but like I definitely have heard of guys saying, hey, they find our farms in the winter, like when the resources are at the lowest and we have the, standing grain and food, and they stay, or they come back the next year. I wonder if on a year like this, if you would see even a higher percentage of that, where it's like not only do you have the standing food and stuff, but all the deer that were there that you planted it for are gone. And so if they get forced into those areas and they're like, there's not even any deer here, and there's found this gold mine over here.
Well, I think to Emily's point, it's then, but what if there's no deer around you either, right? Like it'd be one thing if your general area got smoked, but if it's like 15-mile radius got smoked.
How far are they really going to travel?
Yeah, where are they going to come from?
Yeah, and everything. There's some counties that kind of had like some pocketed areas, but like here where I'm at, it was just a total wipeout. Like everywhere.
Washington got
everybody around that I've talked to. I mean, it's just a total wipeout. So like normally, like he said, like the wintertime, I will get bucks that come in the winter. And they'll stay here all winter, and then they'll leave, and then I won't see them again until next winter. It's just like they like to hang out here in the winter, and they're somewhere else, for spring, summer, and all that type of stuff. But, this year, I don't know what I'm going to see in the winter. I may have, some bucks come here, but they're obviously not going to be mature because there's no mature deer left. But so I don't know how that's going to go.
Well, and then I think if you look at it from a layering factor, right, because it's the only way that we can look at it in the future, it's like there'll be areas that got hit but not hard that 2 years from now probably be back to normal, barring we don't get it again, right? Not to pick on your area, Emily, but like a Washington County, I don't know. That's a 5-year plus, it takes 5 years to grow a 5-year-old buck, right? So
100%. And when the oldest deer you have is 2.5, and if you get lucky and have maybe 1 or 2 2.5-year-olds and everything is 1, I mean, that's going to be 4 or 5 years if you can get them to survive that long. And then, even if they're any good by then, it's just so hard to tell. And it could be, 6, 7 years.
Yeah. Well, the first thing
longer.
First thing I saw in, I would say, more early September than late August, but around early September was for the first time in probably since I bought my farm in 2021. I saw a bunch of farms for sale, like in Meigs County at least. Like normally there's 1 or 2 and they're overpriced. There were like 11 that hit the market like in early September. Because guys got smoked and like it's a hunting farm, and especially if they're non-resident, they're like, I got to get out of this thing. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first thing. Did you see any of that in your areas?
I've been looking recently, and I've been seeing some, not really in the county I'm technically in, but the county nearby. I've been seeing some come up for sale, but they're still absolute high dollar, and there's no deer, and the place is stripped. So they're still trying to get super high dollar out of it, and just hoping somebody doesn't really pay attention that there's no deer
somebody will buy it. There's no doubt in my mind. Somebody will 100%. Buy it for sure. And
somebody will definitely buy it. But yeah, it's like, I would buy another place. Because I know in several years, it may be up to par, but, with them prices as crazy as they are, there's no way that I'm paying that money.
It's probably a good time to get one, if you could go in and get one for, it's like let it sit for whatever, a couple months, a year, and they probably need to sell it, so go in and throw them a reasonable number,
Yeah.
Yeah, because, most of them, unless it was a recent purchase, like even if you purchased 4 or 5 years ago, like, you definitely are selling for a profit at this point. You bought low, and I'm not saying it's worth $5,000 an acre now, but they definitely could get 4 or so for a lot of those farms down there, maybe even a little less than that, and still make a profit depending on when they bought it. But yeah, I've talked to quite a few people that are like they're EHD buying, right? So they're looking for a farm that sets up right, that maybe got hit hard. But if they can get it for a value, they know in 2, 3, 4 years that it's going to come back, and it'll be, and even if they sell it at that point, they're going to make a mint on it because they set it up. It has good deer on it again.
Probably smart. Dude, the game with mature whitetails, it's a long life cycle. It takes a while to get them there, and it takes years in preparation. Freaking, dude, this deer if he was 6 years old, I was. Help me with the math there. I was 26 years old, when that deer was born. I'm like trying to think about the land investment decisions that I was contemplating.
You weren't
26. It's like, I don't even think it was a twinkle in my eye that could happen. But now that I'm 32, right. And you can have, and even at your guys' age, it's like, okay, I understand how that works now. I would buy a farm. It may not be my first pick, but if I could get a fair price or below value for even a farm that got wiped out that lays well, like, dude, I know what it takes to like to grow them. You know what I mean? And so if it's in an area, you can get it for a fair price. Like that's a great investment opportunity.
Yep, for sure.
I think it's going to be a mindset change in Southeast Ohio because, like you said, Emily, historically, it's always been high deer numbers. Like, even though the guys that I talk to in Meigs County that are just locals and have been around it, like, they, not in a disrespectful way, they can't fathom that there aren't deer. Like, they've always been such a renewable resource that, like, they can't fathom that if they go out there and shoot the only couple 3 or 4 year olds left, then next year we may not even have 3-year-olds. Like, they just can't keep that in their head. They're like, well, what do you mean? There's always good deer around here. There's always a lot of deer around here. And because of that mindset, I don't know what the next 3 or 4 years will be, because even if those, like you said, you get those 2-year-olds to 3-year-old, well, are they going to pass them next year as 3-year-olds if they're the biggest deer they see? Probably not. So those deer are then going to be targeted, which are going to be even harder to get them to 4, which are going to be even harder to get them to 5. You see what I'm saying? Like, they just think that there will always be more deer, and who doesn't? In most places that people haven't had massive EHD outbreaks or whatever, deer are just everywhere. Like they're just there every year. Every summer I expect to see big velvet deer, and every fall I expect to see big hardhorn deer. Like they're just there. And in the case of like some of these areas that just got absolutely hammered, they're not. Like they're not there. They won't be there like you think they'll be next year. They won't be there like you think they'll be the following year. It's going to be a multi-year process, and I don't know if they'll adapt the mindset, which could prevent some places in southern Ohio being what they were for a long time.
I hope they don't kill the only like couple 1 or 2 year olds that we have left, but if they see them, I'm sure that they will. But other than that, I mean, there's literally nobody that's hunting here. I'm not hunting here. None of the neighbors, none of the locals, nobody.
So are they doing it because they're like, I'm not going to see any deer, or are they doing it out of like a management mindset of like, we can't hunt here?
Obviously
a management mindset, because they're like, they don't want to kill the last deer that we have.
That's impressive.
Let the deer go so we can have more deer, because they're that little number. So, most people are doing pretty good and just refusing not to hunt.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the non-resident thing makes sense, right? Because they're coming in, whether they lease or they own land, like they're like, I'm coming to kill a deer. The resident thing, I mean, that to me, that's impressive if they're thinking of it of like, hey, we're thinking of the future. Because you're saying your neighbors would not think that way. Your resident
even
neighbors.
Your neighbors. I mean, like it's great that. Yeah, I mean, optimistically, you'd like for everybody to think that way. I just don't think. I haven't seen people like with that level of competency or even just thought process around the deer herd. Like most people just don't know. They're like, I don't know.
Well, and then gun season's coming up too. So, the more people sit around and sit in their house and not hunt, by the time gun season comes, it may be a whole different thing. Everybody may go out and be like, I can't not hunt anymore. I got to kill something. I mean, you just don't know what people are going to do.
It's coming. And maybe it's a pessimistic way to look at it, but the percentage of people that I've, witnessed actually make sound management decisions is like, less than 10%, of hunters that I interact with. HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by DeerGro.
Man, hard to believe, but DeerGro has been the sponsor that's been there since the beginning of the HUNTR Podcast. Back in 2021, I think that they were the only partner that we had, but it's such a cornerstone brand and set of products for our food plot strategy throughout the year.
No doubt. And it seems like we used to have an off season, but not so much anymore. It's like when the hunting season ends, it really rolls right into food plot season, habitat projects, all of the above. And the Plot Start and Plot Boost have been there since the very beginning. That's a cornerstone for all of our plots. The Plot Start goes on at the beginning, Plot Boost goes on midway through. And since they came out with all of the fertilizers, that gets mixed in with the Plot Boost application as well. And I can't believe the results that we've been getting out of that.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I said, it's all the work now that really produces the results in the fall. So right now, anyone listening to the HUNTR Podcast can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 15% off any of the products at DeerGro.com.
Better food plots, bigger deer.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, are you having active conversations with the neighbor, Emily? Because, I mean, obviously you have a very firm grip of like what the area is like and what it should be like. Are you encouraging them? I won't say not to hunt, but just educating them, I guess?
Yeah, so the guys that own land across from me, they have like 500, 600 acres or whatever, which is like one of the biggest parcels that's still left.
Yeah, it's a big chunk.
Big, around here. Everything else is small parcels. So, kind of a lot of it depends on what they do, because that's they hold a lot of the deer. And I talk to them regularly, and we're all on the same page. They're not hunting at all. We're keeping in communication, what we're seeing, the age group, kind of what we got going on. And they aren't hunting this year at all, because we're kind of been on the same page the last couple of years. Like, we don't want to shoot anything unless it's 5.5. Mm-hmm. So we're all going to let the deer go. So at least if I can keep them on the same page, it'll be a really good chance that, we can at least get deer on that side of the road. Now, behind me is a whole different story. And some of the other neighbors and stuff down the road, I don't really communicate with much. But I'm hoping as long as me and these guys can at least stay on the same page, there'll be some hope.
Yeah. Well, that's a big enough chunk to, make a difference. Are there, how many guys hunt that?
Really, they don't do like a lot of hunting. There's, just a few of them, and they just come down, periodically and hunt and stuff like that. But there's really not that many of them that hunt all that acreage. So
that's cool. Well, I saw one of your female neighbors found one of your target bucks, correct? Was that the split G2 one, or?
No, that was a buck that I called Dino.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He was a 5.5-year-old as well as Split G2 was. And I had several sheds and stuff off of him. So yeah, he was kind of a buck that never really showed up on me until like the end of October towards November. But then once he was here, then I would have him all the way through spring to where he lost his antlers. He'd start growing antlers, and then he kind of disappear the May time frame again. And she was super passionate about the deer as well. That was her main target deer that she's had a lot of counters and stuff with. And so we kept in communication like, hey, have you seen him? Have you seen him? And then it got to a point where it's like, I hate to break it to you, but that deer is not alive. And, she was super bummed out, and we didn't know maybe what happened to him or where he ended up because she hadn't even seen him yet on camera. I hadn't seen him on camera. So it was kind of like, we didn't really know like where he had ended up. And then she ended up going out and taking a walk and ended up finding the deer. Super ecstatic. The deer scored 176 as a mainframe 8-pointer. Like he was a mega
hammer.
Wow.
Yeah.
He had super mass, and it was just really nice for her to end up with him. And then I got to see him and hold him and take pictures and stuff. So, I mean, at least we recovered that deer. I still haven't been able to find Split G2 yet.
That's what I was going to ask.
I'm mind blown at where he is because I had him every day in daylight, and he's just gone. And I found his buddy that he ran with, but I can't find him anywhere.
Wow.
And then the other target deer that I had that was at least 6.5 down the road, one of the neighbors found him in the creek earlier on. So,
and I mean, those bucks there, I mean, in general, how many bucks do you think people are finding dead and around your properties? I mean, all of them, I guess is what you're saying, but
the neighbors down the road, I think they found like 60 some deer, cow. Just a pile of bucks. I mean, there was just deer laying. It was just a graveyard. I mean, I couldn't walk out on my front porch without smelling death. I mean, that's how bad it was here for like 2 months.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just dead deer everywhere. Dead deer laying in the side of the yard, in the field. I mean, they're just everywhere. It was just,
what a nightmare.
It was mind blowing, and every deer with age to it just got wiped out. All of them. It was nothing like I'd ever seen.
Well, so Emily, what happened with the buck that you ended up killing this year? How did you find him, and what was like the strategy?
So I have a friend up north, and he like knew that I was having all these struggles and stuff, and he had a property up north probably like over an hour away from me that he never really like does anything with or anything because he's got several different properties. And he's like, why don't you just come up here and just check things out, just do your thing. It was 185 acres. Nobody was really messing with it or anything, and it was like over an hour from him too, so he didn't really do much there. And he's like, I know how much hunting means to you, and, how much the photography and how much you enjoy. He's like, I just want you to have a season. Just come up here. I'll just show you where it's at, and we'll take a drive around, and then you just do you. You just do your thing. I know you'll figure it out. So I was just like completely dumbfounded that I even got an opportunity to
that's
hunt.
Awesome.
Your husband's like, wait, how do you know this guy?
So I was just like super, super thankful that, I was just excited to
that's
just
awesome.
go and see new ground and just see deer. Because that place did not get hit with EHD at all. So, I wasn't really expecting, we know how I am. Like, I'm on the hunt for a mature deer. Like, I give it my all until I find one and I'm able to target and kill it. But I didn't really have that mindset. I was just thankful to just have a place to go.
Yeah.
And, just a refresher and not be here and not see deer.
Yeah.
And so I ended up, and that was like the first week of October that I got access to that. So, I was already late to the game. I didn't have any cameras out, didn't know anything. And normally I'm so prepared, and I'm like trying to kill a target deer the first week in November or October. And that just obviously wasn't happening. So I ended up going up there that week and just spent a whole day scouting, putting out cameras, trying to figure out, the best places, most activity, creating mock scrapes. And there was already some scrapes and stuff that was there. And like just the first evening, the cameras were going off and there was just deer everywhere. Like I was just dumbfounded, just bucks everywhere, nothing big or
You're
anything.
Like, they're still alive. There are actually breathing creatures on this property.
I was like, oh my gosh, there's actually deer here. Like, this is so refreshing. I haven't been seeing deer since the end of July. Like, it was great. And I just like, and I'm like, well, I was like, I'm not going to go and hunt there if there's, nothing that I'm going to target. There's so many deer. Like you said, it was hard to get anywhere without blowing deer out because there's a massive amount of deer on that place I found out. And then I ended up finally getting pictures of that deer. I can't remember, was it the 23rd of October, I think, in broad daylight. And I'm like, this is the deer that I am meant to kill.
Yeah, game on.
Because he was a even bigger split G2. And I'm like, this is no coincidence. This is happening, like, for a reason. I am meant to target this deer. Like, this deer is mature. You can tell he is a big boy. And I started from there and just tried to hunt every day. I drove back and forth every single day up through there. And then if I hunted in the morning, I just literally stayed in my truck and worked. Because there was no place to go. I wasn't driving all the way home and all the way back up. So it was like I was living out of the truck for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
It seemed like. But yeah.
That's impressive. You're kind of a badass. Yeah. I don't know many girls that would do that.
Well, I guess
or guys for that matter. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Not to interrupt, Emily, but I guess just a small step back, like obviously everything that's happening with the HD, I get prior to that opportunity coming up, like what was your mindset? Like what were you thinking you were going to do this season? Were you just going to sit it out? Were you going to try to find something? Like,
I honestly kind of just had the mindset of, maybe I'm just meant to just sit this season out. Like I had spent, so much time in New Mexico elk hunting and so much money on that trip. Like I really didn't want to spend a boatload of money trying to go out of state somewhere and out of state license. And then, all the expense of that. Plus Novix, we're so busy this time of year. Like this is the busiest time and it's just me doing all this customer service stuff. So it's like, wasn't able to take technically like vacation or anything. All the other guys were hunting. So I don't know. It just kind of put me in a weird spot. I just didn't really know what I needed to do.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I just, because obviously you're like us, like this is it year round. Like your head's thinking about it. You're thinking about the deer this year for next year. And then, when you get a swift kick like that and it's like all of the wind out of the sails, it's like, it puts you in a spot where I think most people would have probably just been defeated and just been like, I don't know, it's over, game over type of thing, versus especially from a time limitation or job limitation side to then figure out like, oh, I need to go somewhere else. Or like I've talked about it with people before. I'm like, when your target buck that you've spent years kind of watching ends up getting killed or died, it's like, well, now what? Are you going to go find a new one? Or are you going to...
What do you think of what I was kind of saying, Emily, like before we brought you on, but you could hear Jeremy and I talking about like the reality of like the mortality of these animals versus attitude and like how that played out in your season here?
Yeah, so it like honestly, when all three of my target deer died, it was a gut punch.
Yeah.
Because I spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of dedication, 365 days a year worrying about these deer, trying to get them to a certain age, and then they're just gone. It's just the rug's pulled out from underneath you, and you just literally feel defeated.
It's like 15,
it was kind of a depression stage for a while.
Like 15 combined years all at once, just like pulled the plug on it. Between 3 and 5 year old deer.
Just completely gone. Just no hope. There's nothing. So, it was a little bit of a depression stage for a while because, like, I never dreamed in a million years that would ever happen.
Right.
Here happened to me or whatever. So, and then, once I got access to that place, it really, like, bumped my morale up. And I'm like, okay, we can do this. Like, let's just grind it out. Let's work as hard as we can. Let's make the best of this season. Whatever happens is whatever happens.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. And yeah, obviously then once you finally see a shooter, then you're like, oh, okay. Like there is one alive and I'm going to go kill him.
Yeah, like when I saw that deer on the camera, I was like, oh my gosh, like I haven't seen a deer this big since I don't even know when.
Yeah.
I was super excited.
I think that happens. I mean, I don't know about a lot, but I just think that there's quite a few stories out there of like the tables turning where it's like something, you know, we all joke about like, well, everything's going wrong, so I'm probably going to kill one today. It's like you almost expect, if you hunt long enough, you're almost like, okay, like the table has to turn here at some point. Like something good's got to, you know, shape up from it. So, and I think a lot of times it does. Maybe not when we're expecting it, but over enough time, it seems to.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, when I hunted that deer and I kind of like figured out what he was doing and everything, and then we ended up with kind of some weird winds and some weird weather, and it was kind of hard to hunt. It was iffy to hunt, and then I ended up hunting him, and everything worked out like it was supposed to that one morning. I think it was the 29th or whatever of October, and everything worked out. But he was just out of bow range. The wind swirled. He caught my wind. You know, I've never had a target deer catch my wind. So that was another thing that was like a first. And I was just devastated because it was like I finally got my chance, and now my chance is ruined. And it's like for a deer of that caliber and age class to win me, he is not coming back like anytime soon. Like I thought it was over. So I like took a day and a half, 2-day break because we had a bunch of rain and weather and stuff coming in. And I was like, I figured maybe
that was right when we were driving to Illinois.
Yeah, and I figured maybe he might show up in the back of the farm. My only hope was since the farm was big enough, I had room to play, room to work with if he showed up elsewhere. And then literally a day and a half later in the evening, he was right there in front of the camera trailing does, right where I had him a day and a half prior. And I was like in shock. I was like, this can't be happening. Like this old of a deer just shows up a day and a half later after being pressured. And I went in the next day, didn't see him that morning. And I'm like, well, since he showed up in an evening, maybe he switched his patterns in the evening now since he didn't feel comfortable in the morning. And that evening on Halloween, he did the same exact thing that he did that morning that I had the encounter with him. And he come right out and trailed the doe right up past my stand. And I was able to shoot him at like 14 yards.
Jeez.
Wow. What kind of a setup was that then? Were you like nearby to a bedding area? Was it like an oak ridge or how were you set up?
Yes. Yeah. So I was right on a field edge and there was like an older field in the front with some clover in it, and then there was like kind of like a timber finger in between that field and then the old kind of hay field that I was in. So they would kind of go from that field, feed on them oaks, they'd come up this field line, feed on these oaks I had to my left, and I had actually like an old water hole in the woods kind of behind me that the deer, like there's really no water source on the property besides that water hole. So they always came there, but it was all bedding in behind me.
It was like an old cattle wallow or something, or what was that?
I don't know. I don't know if it was just, I'm honestly not even sure, but it was just a big hole and it always held water and the deer they loved it because there was no like creeks or anything anywhere.
Interesting.
So, you know, I had the stand set up right there on the edge between the oaks and the water hole and the field. And so they always come out in the field and stuff to feed and would feed on the oaks and stuff to my left and drink in the water hole. But
well, it was probably
most of that property was like bedding. Like the majority of it was bedding, and then with them open like old hay fields and stuff on it.
That's awesome.
It was probably, you know, a really kind of cool refresher too to just get a new property and literally have to just start from scratch. Because you think about like the properties that we all hunt, like we know these things, but like the back of our hands, like if they're there, they're going to do this thing, or, you know, I need to do this, or I need to be over here. When you get a new property like that, you have no idea. You know, it literally is observation and going with your gut instinct and seeing something happen and then being like, well, he did that and I needed to do this. And so making adjustments and, you know, those kind of things make you a better hunter for sure.
It really does. And honestly, it was so refreshing being on a new property because I've been on these properties that I've hunted here around the house for years. And it's like, you already know what's there. You already know when it hunts best, when it doesn't hunt best, where you need to go, to where it's just kind of like, it's not that I'm saying not that exciting, but it's not the thrill of like, oh man, I got this whole new property to figure out. Like it was it was so much fun. Like this is one of the funnest seasons I'd ever have just because of that whole new place that I got to experience.
Yeah.
I think it can almost be like, like not a negative. Cause like, you know, the more you know a property in theory, like the more effectively you should be able to hunt it. But I think you get some observation bias. Like the longer you hunt a piece of property, you're like, oh, well, it works this way. Like this does that, or I have to do this. And it's like, you almost, I think maybe can, oh, sorry, I heard that truck passing your house there.
Yeah, it's a really loud truck.
That's right. That's the first one I heard. That was a loud truck. You think things are a certain way, and then like, you have a certain level of success or whatever, but then you almost like it. That's why it's in some ways refreshing to go to a new property and be like, I don't know anything about how this works. Like all I have to go on is like the map, topography, and then like initial just bare minimum. I killed, this is my second buck out of Illinois this year. I killed one a week and a half ago.
November 1st.
November 1st, the morning after. I actually hung it while you were killing that deer. I hung that set. And that was my first time on the property. Other than the day before, Jeremy and I just drove the perimeter, and we were going to just jet into some spots real quick and put cameras out. So we did that. Yeah. But all we had to go on was the map and topography. And we picked one spot 2 days before that Jeremy hunted, and he's like had some good hunts down there. And whether we lock in that spot or not, I don't know. But
it was different winds though when I hunted that one, so that's why we were down in there.
Different wind, and also we needed neighbor permission to access a certain part of this farm. And so, like, again, no historical bias on this farm. Like, just some pictures, trail cam pictures from the prior owners. We kind of knew where those cameras were at and blew. But all I did was like look at the spot. I'm like, that's the freaking spot. And we got that access from the neighbor the day before, went and hung it Halloween night, and then I killed him, the following morning. And it's like, I don't know that down the road that will change, or like maybe it'll evolve or something, but like, it's just a testament to the fact that like sometimes no information is, I think, better than years and years of information. Cause it's like, oh, let's try that. Let's go in and take a risk maybe.
Yeah, 100%. I did a lot of that because around here, it's just like, I'm so like set in stone with, only hunting, certain this and certain that. And it's like, you kind of think to yourself, I wonder how many opportunities I'm really missing out on, or how many deer that are there that I don't really know, just because I'm so reliant on what I've seen on camera and this and that and the other. And it was just so refreshing because like once I went to that place and I was like, man, this place is like awesome. Like this looks like deer heaven. And once I got, to scout and find them oaks and to see, the deer traffic and the trails and stuff, I'm like, man, I was like, this is good. Like I was super excited for it.
That's one thing that's so cool about, like, Jeremy and I are so fortunate in this podcast to get to have conversations, like deep strategy conversations with so many people. It's been hundreds of people at this point, really good deer hunters, people that are way better hunters than we are. And to just be able to get so many different perspectives about like how I would do it, or, I mean, really, it's that, because it's like, dude, there's not any right or wrong way that works 100% of the time or won't ever work. It's like you just have to be in one of the many trees that this deer is going to walk past over the course of his, season. So it's like there's a million ways to do it, and I think it's so fun to, even if we have success in certain ways, be like, well, I don't know, that's one way to have done it. How else could we have done it? Is there a better way to do it in the future if another deer is doing something similar? So that's been fun.
That's the difference between people that, and I'm not saying like in every year, but just consistently over the course of their hunting career, kill big mature deer, and people who just kill big deer. Because like if you look right now, like I don't know what it is, like Ohio Whitetail group or something on Facebook, right, that I'm part of, and like there's plenty of guys that kill big bucks, but I bet it's one in very few, like that's one buck that they kill every 20 years basically. And I'm not saying that it's like no skill involved, but it's 98% luck. They were just right place, right time, going. Like guys, saw one the other day, giant, and he's like, man, I just sat down and killed the biggest buck of my life. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, there's somebody like me, like crying into their pillow tonight because of the way that happened. Well, but if I say that, and again, no knock to somebody like that, like that's awesome. Congratulations.
On the other hand, you talk about like a Ben Rising. It's almost like, how does this freaking guy keep doing this?
Dude's a killer. And like just an absolute freaking killer.
Those are the guys that like they almost get a target on their back or whatever. It's just almost like damn, like, yep, they did it again.
Ben rising is a big buck's nightmare. Like when they go to sleep at night, they wake up shaking because they're like, oh, Ben rising. Like that's the thought process on 100%.
It. Well, and that's the difference between people like him and like other people, because like I've known Ben for years. Like Ben is awesome. Yep. And he like lives and breathes whitetails 365 days a year. And to kill big mature deer consistently, you literally have to live and breathe whitetails 365 days a year. And a lot of people don't do that, which is fine. And then there's some people that, they only think about it like 4 months out of the year and stuff like that. But I mean, you really got to live and breathe it that length of time to really, constantly kill big mature deer. And honestly, I have found out, because once I was able to get a job that had plenty of vacation that I could hunt, which started back in 2015, that's when I was able to start killing big deer consistently, because I was able to put in the time. And now that I work for Novix and I work from home, I work from my phone, I even have more time and can put that time in. And honestly, time is the biggest thing. Like, you have the time to do it, you're going to kill a big deer.
Time and flexibility, right? Like we just said about these weather fronts. Like if you have to plan your vacation 4 weeks in advance, you better have a lot of luck on your side that the weather's going to hit right. But if you can look 3 days from now and say monster front coming through, the next 2 days are going to be banging, and have the flexibility of going.
That's what kills them.
And I don't, obviously, Emily, this first time like we're talking, but my mindset would be that, not to put Ben on a pedestal, but Ben is a very aggressive hunter, which...
Well, tell the story of this one here.
What's that?
So you'll appreciate this. Ties into what you're saying here. So knowing Ben, you'll get a kick out of this. I asked his opinion on this deer here. I showed him on a map. I said, here's where I saw him. Here's where we got pictures. What do you think? Like, I'm going to go back out here for 4 days. I'll sit dark to dark. Like, what do you think? And of course, like, and he'll laugh about this too, but he's just like, he looks at the biggest block of timber that's immediately adjacent to it, which is like, we treat them kind of as sanctuaries a little bit. He's like, what's this here? He's like, yeah, I just go right to the middle of that and sit there for 4 I'm like, well, yeah, obviously that looks good, Ben. That's the middle of our core block of timber.
Literally the heart of the property.
He's like, yeah, I'd go there.
Yeah, he's in there.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but just like...
That's not where I killed him. So
but that mindset is very different from a lot of guys who do kill, like the Mark Drurys or whoever of the world, who they're like, I've got 70 days to kill this buck, and I don't care if I kill him on day 1 or I don't care if I kill him on day 70. I'm gonna kill him, right? But that's just a completely different mindset, because even with the time and flexibility, it's like, I don't have 70 days to hunt this fall. I wish I did, but like I don't. Yeah. So I have to be at least a little bit more aggressive than that mindset.
Yeah. And I usually put like most of my focus like early season, like October is usually my time that I try to kill a deer, and I've killed several of my big deer in October, especially like within the first 2 weeks, because we're so busy and stuff at Novix, and it's hard for me to do the phone like hunt balance. And luckily Jeff and them, they're like, listen, you have had one heck of a season, you have a buck to kill, like you do what you need to do to kill the deer. He said, we'll figure things out. So, they worked with me really well. I was able to just work out of the truck and get stuff done. That way I could hunt and, get that deer. Like it was great.
Well, and like you said, like historically, the rut is not a great time to be out there trying to target, especially, a specific mature deer. So that's my style. The rut comes,
like, your deer that you could be chasing might get killed 4 miles down the road. You might not see it for 3 weeks. Like it's like, I just really like to target deer and try to get it done before the rut starts.
Yeah. And that's why that October time frame is really good. And it's, again, it probably just depends on where you're at. Like in those bigger timber pieces, especially from mid-October till Halloween, it's like, if I can find a hot scrape with the right weather front, I'm like, I feel very confident that I'm going to be all over that target deer.
Yeah, for sure.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Beast Broadheads.
Dude, Beast Broadheads. Man, we've been advocating for and shooting expandable, especially big expandable broadheads for years and years now. And it just seems like they just keep making them better and better. And ultimately, with the relationship we forged with the Belmars this past year, we're just super excited to be shooting the Beast Broadheads this year.
I mean, this broadhead it's the world's sharpest expandable broadhead out there. It has best penetration, and it's got bone avoiding technology. Ultimately, we want to create the most trauma possible on a deer when we release an arrow. The Beast Broadhead does that for us every time.
So right now you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for a discount on anything on the Beast website. So definitely go check out beastbroadheads.com. Have you walked it back and actually looked at the stats on it? I don't know. I mean, this may not make me look very good as a hunter or as a pattern hunter, but I was just recalling or looking at where I've killed most of them, and an overwhelming majority has been November 1st through the 12th, or the 12th, 15th, something like that. I've killed very few deer in October.
Yeah, I'm the opposite.
I know. Well, that's why I said that's what you were just talking about. I honestly think that might be the only one. I've killed at least one or two. Well, that was September, frankly. That was
that was second day or something.
That was September 28th or 29th. Mm-hmm. I've killed one in North Dakota on September early 5th. So the early season stuff, the muleys we've killed a few, but dude, other than that deer right there, I don't think I've killed a buck in October.
Yeah.
Very few. And stack that against, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 in those days of November. I've killed 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 9th, 11th, 12th.
I think that's your style, though, is you're just okay, I've got 5 days, I'm going to sit dark to dark. Mm-hmm. And that's what you do.
Well, and I'm trying to think, they've all been morning or afternoon. I've never actually killed one. I think the one in Kansas was the only one that I shot at midday. Pretty boy. And it didn't get him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Missed him. But I don't know, man. Those are just the days. And frankly, several of those have been on patterns. Patterns, I would say. It's not a bed to food pattern, but it's kind of like a rut pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, I agree with the rut is really challenging to hunt. So Emily, even this year here, I wouldn't say that's a pattern, but in hindsight, it's
I think it's the type of properties you're hunting.
Maybe.
Versus what we're hunting in just big contiguous timber, brushy country.
Maybe.
It's just, if they're not on a pattern, meaning the rut, damn, it's 90% luck that he's going to come by me.
Well, yeah, so I definitely feel way more comfortable with in-farm country. I love hunting little pockety farm country. That's what my Ohio farm is. That's what this Illinois farm is. That's where I killed in Iowa last year. That's what a lot of Kansas is. It's for me, it's easy to look at a map or just understand how they're going to use. Not easy, but compared to a big woods.
They're just there.
Yeah, big woods. I mean, they could literally be anywhere. It's just certain properties lay out better.
Yeah.
There are certain properties that I hunt that are great for the rut, and other properties you'll be lucky to ever even see a deer during the rut, just because they're so open. Some are so thick. Yeah. I'm like you. I originally always had my best luck the November 1st through the 12th type of deal. But that's before I had several different properties that I was able to pattern deer. Some properties I don't have deer until the rut. And then other properties that I've hunted, I've been able to keep deer there throughout the summer and target them in early season over acorns and stuff. So just different properties lay out different. And then I kind of switched from killing the first 2 weeks of November to where I was killing the first 2 weeks of October consistent, ghost freak. Some of my biggest deer, I've killed the 7th, the 10th, all around that first red moon in October, which has become one of my favorite times to hunt. But then last year I killed the big 9 on November 1st. And then this year, I killed the split G2 buck on October 31st. So just really depends on the property.
Yeah. Well, and maybe I'll follow it up with, I'm just recalling more of them. I should rephrase. I'll save myself a little bit with this one. I did shoot, there was October 1st. When did Ohio open this year? Was the date?
27th or 28th of September?
27, I don't know, somewhere around.
So still September. I'm still out of October, but I shot opening day. I shot I didn't put a tape on it myself, but it was a 196-inch 4-year-old The problem is my neighbor shot it
first
20 minutes before. So I patterned him. I had him locked in, and I got him. I did technically shoot 190
his heart was still beating when you put one in him.
His heart was still beating. So, but and that's a whole nother story. I gave it to that neighbor. It was a killing shot that he made. It was
gonna die.
It was mortally wounded. So that's one. That's an early season pattern. And then that afternoon, I put my uncle on a 6-year-old, 140-inch, whatever, 8 or 9 point, and he just missed him. Essentially, hit him super low. That deer is still alive. But that is two.
That was September.
Still. So I don't know what it is about October for me. And then, dude, whatever it was, like, I don't, maybe bracket got in my head, but we were tracking the full moon thing. He's like, you watch after that full moon, that movement's going to like just shut off completely. And sure enough, I don't know if it was just in my head, but like, man, dude, they just stopped. I just stopped getting pictures of any mature bucks, daylight or dark, like those weeks of October. And honestly, it really didn't ever. It hasn't picked back up ever. I still, to this, until maybe literally in the past few days, like mid-October, the big ones started to like show again. I think they just whatever, whether we're at peak or if
I think it's just getting them on camera during this peak rut is so tough because they're either doed up and they're just moving. Like even this buck that you shot, like we've got 3 cameras or more like around him, and he just was slinking in between them.
Well, so here's the pattern ability on this thing here was like if you want to call it that. So Jeremy and I were out there the first week of November. Or maybe
end of October, the first
30th through the 1st or 2nd, kind of the thing.
28th through the 3rd.
There you go. And it was like super slow, like just
they were locked down.
Nothing.
The big ones were locked down with their first does, at least first does.
They were locked down for sure. And I guess you could say I got lucky. I hunted the right spot, and I just I was there at the right time, and I killed that mid-50s 8 point on the new farm.
Locked down on a doe.
Lockdown on a doe, but outside of that, it was like it was really slow. Yeah, lockdown on a doe. They just how they
she drug him through.
She drug him through.
Yep.
So I was lucky. I was fortunate to get.
That was the only mature buck we saw.
Well, until the very last sit, I sat a spot that Jeremy had already sat 3 spots in a row, or sat a spot that Jeremy had already sat 3 spots in a row, and for whatever reason, that night I saw this deer. He came up out of a little small pocket. And I saw him across this little cornfield, and I'm like, there he was. I saw him at 60 yards, and I saw him just work out this little finger of timber that on a map you'd be like,
nothing.
Why? There's nothing here.
Yeah.
And so I based my whole strategy in
that was November 3rd.
November 3rd. So then we left. We had to come home, and we were home the 4th or 5th through the 7th, and we got a few more pictures of this deer all nighttime. The last one we got was the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
So we got him the night. I got a picture of him the night that I saw him across the ag field at like 10 at night.
We had a picture of the morning you saw him. He was at River Stand.
The morning that I saw him in that first trip. Yeah. So, and that's what led me to go to that spot. I was like, maybe that was him coming in. I don't know. So saw him. Couple more pictures nighttime, the next 2 days, and then nothing. The last picture we got of him was on November 6th at like 9 or 10 at night. But that sighting was what I based like most of my strategy around. I was like, all I know is I saw him there in daylight, and I'm like, we've been trying to figure out like how much do these big mature ones actually come out of these little pockets of timber. It's like,
we're in big ag, so like we have cover for 140 acres, but then there's like giant ag and then just little pockets of timber around us. So
and so we're like, dude, if he's moving, if he's covering ground on his farm, like we're just gonna know, like because every other deer when they do it, we get pictures. You know what I mean? They go through the traps. It's like just the farm lays out that way. So I'm like, he's just not moving, like,
or he's not on us.
I was like, and I would have bet money the first 3 days that I was hunting him on this second trip that he was not on the property. I was like, he's in one of these remote ditches in a giant ag field that just doesn't get bow hunted or whatever with a doe. He's bedded down somewhere. So I hunted this spot that I ended up killing him for 2 full days, dark to dark. And I did actually see some decent rutting activity.
Yep, 3 and 4-year-olds.
3 and 4-year-old bucks, just they came down and they did the thing. But none of the mature bucks. At that point, there was at least 3 left that we knew of. Really just him on this property. But I hadn't seen him. Third day, I got a different wind, and I was like, I need to mix it up, I guess. Like, I wasn't convinced that he was in there necessarily. I was like, I just don't think he's here. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to bounce up to try another good spot or whatever. And then the fourth day, I got the right wind to go back to this spot. So I'm slipping in the back door on this thing. I go down to it. And at 9:30, he comes out of, and I'm not kidding you. We'll have to map it on Onyx. It's like 5 acres. Maybe 5 acres. It is a small little block of just CRP, brush, little nasty pocket. Not like 10-foot tall stuff, like, varying degrees of just like little brushy little pocket. That sucker was in there. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll never really know for sure, but I don't think he left that pocket since November 6th. I think he literally stayed in that pocket with a little harem of does. He's got his little crick thing in there, and he's just had enough to eat.
Cut corn around him.
The first time he came out of it, I'd been sitting there on the edge of it for 4 days, and he slunk out of it on just the most secure way he possibly could have, and that's how I caught up with him. And so I would almost call that like, that's repeatable. I think, like, in a way, if you see them and you know that they're locked into a small area like that, and it's this time of year and you know that they're locked down, if you sit there long enough.
Well, the assumption is he didn't move.
The assumption, yeah.
I mean, and logically, I'd argue it doesn't make any sense. Like, how is a mature buck in the rut not leaving 5 acres?
Well, right? if his thought process is breeding and he's got a group of does in there that are at, I don't know. Like if they'll do that, if there's multiple does that would have been in heat, or if they were cycling through. I'm not exactly sure how that works. But yeah, I mean, that's, as far as our observation and stuff, that's the best I can chalk it up
I don't have any argument that he wasn't moving because we didn't see him anywhere else. So yeah, and again, it could be the mindset of farm country versus big timber country, where I'm like, he definitely moves out of 5 acres.
I just, for me, from a learning moving forward thing, like I will definitely use that strategy in the future. If I feel confident that he is locked down in an area, I'll sit it. I'll just sit it until he comes out. And the cameras will tell you otherwise. If he's moved or you get him somewhere else, you're like, okay, I guess move or be to a new spot or whatever. But like, in that situation, I'm sure it'll happen again, where it's like either we have a sighting or a couple pictures in a small core area. Like, dude, they're there. Even the night that I saw him in person, that's a great example of, you're like, who knows? He could be a mile from here by now, or this or that. Nope. He was right there.
Yeah, we got pictures of him.
We got him at 4 a.m. or whatever, and then that whole next day passed, and that night I saw him 50 yards from where the camera was, 100 yards maybe.
Yeah, 100 yards.
He was right there. So, I don't know. I think there's a lesson in that.
It's crazy what they do. That's kind of how Dino was last year when I watched, because obviously it was already tagged out by the time he showed up. But I mean, that's what he did. He was locked on that doe, and he was like clear out the road there for a while with her, just kind of staying in that messy piece of brush by the road. And he was just there all the time. Midday, he would follow the doe out, and they go back. Like, he was there all the time. And then the doe would go around the field over to the other side, and I'd get him on camera there at like noon, and then they'd end up going back and around, and he just stayed with that doe in just a really small area. It seemed like for days.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
what do you think about it? I know you're not like in love with, and it doesn't necessarily take all day sets. I mean, dude.
Yeah.
Let's say there's 10 of them. 9 of the 10 was between the hours of like, first 3-4 hours daylight.
Yeah. When they're typically going to move as whitetails. Yeah. I think it comes down to the farm and the area and what they're doing. Like, obviously, if they're locked down on a doe for up to 96 hours, which is what it is.
Wow. How many days is that?
96 hours is 3-4 days.
3-4 days.
Yeah.
That is a long time. Like, it just doesn't seem like, I don't have that kind of stamina. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're doing. 3 to 4 days, right?
That's impressive.
Yeah, laying it out there. Some of them are 24 hours. Don't.
Okay. I'd be a 24 hour.
Don't make fun of that. But yeah, up to so 3 or 4 days, like, it makes sense for them to be locked into a small area because it's secure. They don't have to be fighting off other bucks. They have what they have. But when you get into, like, an extended period, like let's say it's the 6th that we saw him, moving around, and he's in there till, when did you kill, the 12th?
12th.
So you're talking 6 days. Like, is he not moving? Did we miss him? We've talked about them avoiding cell cameras. Did he just avoid our cameras as well?
Possible. It's possible.
If he did what he did when you killed him, we would have never got him on camera.
Right.
Which he very well could have been moving. Not saying he wasn't coming back to that area as like a premier bedding area.
Yep.
But we had put a camera in the corner of that sanctuary that Ben was basically like, hey, go and hunt. And we're like, oh, we're going to never got him there.
Never got him.
He never came up there.
And I really think he wasn't there. It's not because we weren't getting pictures of him.
No, I don't think he was ever up in there.
I don't think he was going there. I think he just felt really safe in this little corridor, and it just where he was. Like maybe there was a couple lines that he'd stretch it out a little ways, but like we locked in on where he was at. And that's why I sat that stand as many times as I did. Like,
yeah.
In hindsight, I mean, obviously that was the move with the information that we had. There was another spot in theory that I was like, oh man, this is the best stand on our farm. I was like, you can slip into this backdoor access, and it's just the back corner, like on a southwest wind. This is the northeast corner of our, biggest block of timber, and it's nasty. It's gnarly. It's a big rut knob. I'm like, textbook, that's where you kill him. You sit that long enough, he'll come through
if he's there.
If he's there. And maybe eventually you do. But in this case here, we had enough information to say, I think his core is actually, I think it's that. It's just.
And I think that's a deer. I know people will argue it. I think that's a very deer by deer personality basis. Like,
for sure is.
The 8 you killed, Kamikaze, we gave him that name because that deer was every
at any one of those traps. Yep.
Like we could have jumped 3 properties over and killed him. Like that's just how that deer moved.
Yeah.
And you'll have deer like that. And other deer, like they don't move. Like they're homebodies. They stay in this core area.
I think it's both. I think you're right. I think it's personality based, and I think it's age based. I mean, you hear a lot of guys talking about the older they get, the more they lock in.
Yeah, which we thought he was 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And Kamikaze was just 5.
Yeah.
And so, just historically, Emily, we see in Illinois, it's funny how distinct the age classes are out there. It's like, 3-year-olds do this. 4-year-olds they very distinctly, like they just run
mobile
everywhere. 4-year-olds are running to every part of the farm, scraping everything. And at 5, they start to they wise up a little bit. Seems like they prefer a certain area. They don't really cross with the other 5-year-olds as much as far as a core area. And then at 6, this is maybe the first one we've killed. I killed Floppy, but that was a gun season thing, so maybe more luck than this one probably. They just seem to really lock in on this is my block. This is my little core area that I'm safe in.
I mean, we had a 7 or 8-year-old last year, a crazy horse that you ran into that deer could have been living in 10 acres.
To this day, he could be living in 1 acre that we just have never seen him. Or he's dead. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, that's the case. Ghost was a perfect example of that because I followed him from when he was really young all the way when I killed him at 8.5. And it was really funny because when he was 3 and 4, he traveled so much. I get him at the lower end of the farm. I get him across the road. I get him at the upper end. And then up the road 1.5 miles, he would end up in my camera up there in a completely different place. And then he was all over the place. And then when he got to 5, then he kind of just stayed kind of in and around that farm where I ended up killing him. And then the older that he got, then he was at 7 and he got even smaller and smaller range.
Really?
And then by the time he was 8.5, I mean, the deer literally lived in a ravine and come out to an oak flat and literally went back to the ravine. I never got pictures of him anywhere else on the property besides that ridge that I killed him.
Wow.
He ended up just being so small in the home range by the time he's 8.5. He didn't go anywhere. He lived in a ditch.
I think that's how it works, man. I think, just
think about it. I mean, I don't know what the factor is. You talk about dog years or whatever. Deer years are probably very similar. A 7 or 8-year-old buck is an old man.
Yeah.
Elderly.
Yeah.
They just want to go eat Jello, bingo, back home, back to sleep, right? that is the thought process of it. Versus that 4-year-old who's 20-something and just crashing every bar possible.
Yeah. That's it. That's it, man. It's hard, I think, to wrap our heads around. It almost would seem boring. How can he tolerate just living in that one ditch? But it's just all they have to do is eat, breed, and survive. That's their sole thing. And if they feel safe and have for 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a certain spot. They're like, they just have so much confidence in it. They're like, why would I ever leave here?
That's why the surprise factor on like properties that you have for 3, 4, 5, 6 years that you own or you hunt or whatever is so rare, right? Like, you know, maybe you get a surprise 3 or 4 year old, but like when you're looking for a mature deer, like it's not that big of a surprise. Well, you're like, that's not what I'm looking for.
The things that seem to do it are food when it's critical, like in late season, or the tail end of the rut when they've been through some breeding cycles and they
got to look for them.
Those are the 2 times that seem to bring super mature bucks out of their little pockets.
Yep. Yeah, out of their comfortability zones, for sure. Yeah, and we're approaching that. Like, as this podcast is airing at the end of Thanksgiving, which is what's the dangerous part about gun season, is that they are tailing off with, like, looking for the last does before we get to the fawn cycle in end of December or January. Yeah. And at the same time, they're like, I'm kind of hungry because I haven't ate for 3 weeks, basically.
I really think, like, dude, my opinion on the rut, it's gotten later and later every year in terms of the time that I think it's your best odds of catching a super mature buck in daylight. You used to probably think Halloween, and obviously you can kill them at any phase of these, you know. And then I was like, well, November 1st is classic rut week, you know, there you go. But I'm like, whatever. Then it was like second week, and I'm like, they're pretty locked down at that. There's a high number of does and estrus. It's just really hard to hunt. You know, you can catch one like us, you know, doing that. But that third week, now I think currently where I'm at, I'm like, dude, that third and going into the 4th week of November, if you get the weather conditions and like you've got an unpressured spot that, you know, has does and stuff, like that's kind of where I'm at now. Like it's not an easy hunt because the weather is going to be tough. You know what I mean? You got to dress for it, and you're going to have to sit long hours. But like, they're going to come out and look for that last doe at some point. The big ones will.
I mean, I think that's when you start to get more successful in your evening hunts as well. I think they're starting to come back to that like pattern ability standpoint. And those does are not moving during all hours of the day. They're moving in the evening, you know, or late afternoon.
I think both. I mean, you could be more right than I am in that. You know, I would say getting in December, I think like, I think them big ones, they're full rut 3rd and 4th week of November. Like they're solely focused on if the does are on food. Yeah, I think evening food sources and stuff,
which they are going to more and more.
But I would not pull back on hunting bedding areas like mid to late morning at all. I think that's your best. I mean, that's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely really like the 3rd week of November for hunting. Flyer 10, one of my other big deer, I killed him like the 21st or the 20th or something in there, and he was gone all the way for like the 2 or 3 weeks prior to that, and then he started to come back and be patternable again that 3rd week, and then that's when I was able to kill him. But then January too, I've seen all kinds of rut activity at the beginning of January. Ghost in 2022, January of 2022, he would have been 5.5-year-old then when I started chasing him. He was like chasing does and everything like the 1st week of January in the snow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, some of them they come back. Some of them does they come into heat or back into heat or whatever in January. It seems like, and then it's kind of a little mini rut all over again.
That I think is an unfortunate consequence of too many does.
Yeah,
that's what happens is they're going to keep going.
Yeah, they get missed
until they've bred them all, and those does will keep coming into estrus. And like from a health of your herd standpoint, like you don't want your bucks rutting it clear into January. Like you need to have that doe bred and then
not normal.
back on food at that point. But
that's what starts to take a toll on them, and then it's really a recovery stance for March, April, May when they should be starting to dedicate antler resources at that point. Emily, you want to show us some of these deer in your other room?
Yeah, I can
make us mobile.
Yeah, I can make you mobile here.
If you want.
Sure.
That was the original plan, but the acoustics were not working.
Might be kind of hard to see. This is my big 9 that I killed last year. He was 160 and
super browse.
There. And this was Ice Buck. I killed him like the second to last day of bow season in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one clear up here, that's Flyer 10.
Mm-hmm.
Raise it a little bit more.
Yep, you can see him. He's got like a flyer on this backside over here.
Oh yeah.
See him very well.
That's
he
a
was
slammer.
He was a 162, and then this one here.
Point it up a little bit more, Emily. There you go.
You see that one? That was a.
Jeez, look at
that. Was a 161. He was a really giant tank. I killed him during the rut.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This here, that was one of my first ones that I killed there. So he's a little smaller. And this was Ghost. You can see him.
Yeah. How cool.
And you said he was 8.5?
Yeah, he was 8.5. So that was Ghost. The sheds and stuff there.
Oh, that's cool.
And then back here, we've got Freak.
Oh, my goodness.
Slammer.
So he's the 190.
Wow. And those are all Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
All main.
Oh, and then I forgot this deer over here in the other corner. This was my 165 that I killed on the 12th of November.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Hard to see him around there.
And those are all, Southeast Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
Super impressive, Emily. That's awesome.
Yep. So, and then my other one, he's a taxidermist, so.
The one from this past year?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't hold on to your skull caps?
No, I usually don't.
Oh my word, dude! Those things don't leave my sight until it's ready to go on a mount.
And we have a lot of trust with Trav, our taxidermist.
Oh yeah, it's not a trust thing; it's an attachment thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, Kevin, my taxidermist, he's really he does his own tanning and stuff like that. So he's really quick. Like normally, if I kill a buck in October or November, I'll have him back by January.
Wow, that's awesome.
Oh wow, yeah, that's super fast.
What did that one score this year?
153 and some change.
Yep.
Is a mainframe 8-pointer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
With G2.
Awesome.
So.
Does your husband hunt at all? Do you guys hunt together, or what's his deal?
No, so he can hunt. He can hunt more now, but usually I kind of take over.
Yeah. Get out of my way.
He's more into out west. He honestly could care less about whitetails. He's more into elk hunting and all that type of stuff. So normally when it comes to whitetails, it's a one-man show. I pretty well just take over that whole ordeal.
Well, that might be the best for the relationship, honestly.
Yeah. He gets tired of hearing me talk about deer. Let me tell you.
Yeah, there's only so many mature bucks to go around on those properties. So yeah.
Does he help you with those? Does he help with the property management or running cameras, or is that just mainly you?
No, it's just mainly me. He'll help plant some food plots and run some equipment and stuff like that.
Okay.
That way we can get stuff done quicker. But no, he just lets me do my thing. He kind of just stays out of the road.
Interesting. Yeah, so you guys have a cool relationship that way.
Yeah, so it works out pretty good. We're not fighting over things. He just stays out of the way and lets me do my thing. So.
That's funny. It's funny how that works. I mean, everybody's got a different situation, but my wife is the same way. She just she's like, hey, it's great for you. That's cool. Even when I come home, with this thing, she's like, it's pretty good, I think, right? She's like, okay.
Yeah.
She just has no, I mean, it's not her thing, and I think ultimately I'm grateful for that. I'm glad that she's just happy for me and she understands and she lets me do my thing, but she doesn't want to come with me. She doesn't want to even, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. We figure out what we like to do together, which there's plenty of things. And then there's things that we do apart, and this is one of them. So,
well, when you were talking about bringing her to Illinois for this trip, I was like, yeah, that's not a good idea.
You didn't think so?
No, because you were going to sit dark to dark.
Yeah.
What's she going to do?
Yeah, she was going to have to tinker in the barns, look through old antiques and stuff.
Yeah, not a good move. I think the best move was for her to stay home.
And maybe I gave her that call. I was like, hey, you're welcome to come. It would be awesome to have you there. There's a few hours after dark and stuff that I can spend with you, but.
I was like,
that's basically what it would have been.
Yeah.
I
think it was the right decision.
I'll be right back. I gotta get a charger.
Yeah, no worries. So I think you're right. Probably was the right decision, but
yeah, because she's just gonna sit in the house with the field mice.
Pretty much. I would have sent her to Dollar
with no internet.
I'd have sent her to Dollar General to get mouse traps, and I would have said, hey, start looking through those barns and organizing stuff. She would have enjoyed that. She'd had more fun if a girlfriend came, but that kind of defeats the purpose, because then it's you can stay home and hang out with your girlfriends.
Third wheel.
you know, and our dogs and stuff like that. But
yeah, did your dog run away, by the way?
He did, but neighbor called and yeah, I was like, "Is this your first time finding him?" They're like, "Nope."
Yeah, sounds right.
So.
Yeah, I've kind of learned that the whole relationship stuff works out. Like if you have one person that's extremely hardcore, that it works out best if both of you aren't hardcore, because then it's just a fight and an argument the whole time. So it works out really well.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's pretty rare to where, you know, you as the wife are the one that's like super obsessed with it. It's just, I don't know. What do you think about this? Like generally you see.
Bachman was the same way.
Yeah. Melissa Bachman is. Do you know Melissa? Do you guys like talk at all? Yeah,
No, I've never talked to her, but I
she's
do
awesome.
know her for
You
sure.
should.
Would you like to?
You guys should connect. That would be.
I'd definitely introduce you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have a really cool like bond there in terms of your passion for that.
Well, generally, what what we see and what I like would classify people as is like it seems like men generally are more objectively driven, and women, just generally speaking, again, are more relationship driven. I just think that's generally that's what my wife is. That's what my mom. You know, that's what we see is they're just really intentional about relationships and stuff, like where we lack. But on the other side, it's like, you know, I'll go to the ends of the earth to accomplish my mission, which is like objectively, you know, to hunt these deer and stuff. And so it's cool to run into the opposite situation where it's like I can tell clearly from our conversation here and the bucks that you've killed and stuff, that's like, you got that, you know, and it's super interesting to see.
Yeah, I've kind of always been different. I've always enjoyed the hunting stuff, the farming, all the like the outdoor work, running the equipment. Like that's like my deal, like what I really like to do. So I guess I'm really different compared to most like women, I guess. I don't know. I'm just wired completely different. And it's like, you know, if I have a big deer that I'm thinking about, like I'm thinking about him 365 days a year. Like I don't care what event is going on or what's happening over here. Like I'm not going to be there. Like
that's hilarious.
Type of deal. Cool. And it's just like, I don't know. I do it all. Like, I don't know. I'm just so obsessed with it. And it is hard to, like, you'll find women that hunt, but it's hard to find women that are obsessed with it 365 days a year and do everything from the food plots to hanging the stands to the cameras to just everything. It's really hard to find that.
Super rare. Yeah. Like you said, there's women that hunt and like, not to put this like thought process on it around down at all, but like most I would say are like, they're like, yeah, you know, I enjoy hunting. Like it, you know, I like to, you know, I'll go out during the season or whatever. But like, I mean, dude, you got to be like 1%, like has that 365 mindset around it. I think it's very, very small number.
Yep, for sure.
That's why we had you on the podcast.
That's why we had John. Well, and honestly, I think our guest pool is like, you know, proof of that. We've had so few females on, not intentionally. It's just like you look back on it and you're like, boy, you know.
Well, we try to find people who are like-minded with us, right? Yeah. Which is the 365-day mindset. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, they're definitely out there. Like we talked about Melissa. Like we just had Melissa on, and at the end of that, we're like, there it is. Like there's a match. That
was cool.
You know?
Just like made us look bad. Kind of. She's like, oh yeah, no. She's like, I'll sit dark to dark from like October 25th to like November 30th
with a decoy.
With a decoy every single set. And I'm like, and she's like, I'll kill 5 or 6 in like a 8-10 or.
Well, she like the picture she posted the other day was in Illinois, self-filming with a decoy, dark to dark for like 7 days. Like she had, I don't even know how she was carrying everything. But she like took a selfie of her with like a decoy, like tripods, big cameras, like going to the blind, just like dark to dark.
Just a badass.
I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
You're in that group.
Yeah, she definitely knows how to do it. I have to give her credit. The whole like self-filming thing or trying to film thing, I just can't do it. It takes my whole mental capacity away from the deer, and I get frustrated. So I just don't do it. I just do the photography in the end.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys have like the unfortunate. You know, whatever, that there are, you know, girls out there that are like, you know, do it for attention, you know, frankly, you know, it's like everybody kind of was dealing with, you know, the phase there where you had, I don't even know what you called them, but like the huntresses or whatever. And it's like, everybody kind of saw through it and you're like, you're just doing it for like Instagram likes. You're not like the real deal. So you guys that was kind of an uphill battle.
Yeah, because you were just getting lumped in the group. Like Allie DeAndrea, who's coming on here. Allie was the same way. She was just, she was getting looped in, and honestly, we didn't know Allie, so we're like, hey, you should come on the podcast. And the more that we've got to know her, we're like, no, this girl's legit. Like this, and so yeah, I think to Jared's point, there's a like constant lumping often of you guys into that same pool, and it's, that's not the stereotype you want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's been really hard over the years to kind of like separate myself from that, because like you said, you automatically just get put in that category with everybody else, and you don't want to be in that category, so you try to set yourself apart. And I think just being so focused on hunting and being able to harvest big mature deer regularly has definitely like really helped. And people are like, okay, this person is different. This is really why she doesn't do it for the social media or the likes or anything, which I don't like. I could care less. I could care less if social media disappeared tomorrow, to be honest. I just I'm so passionate about hunting, and I enjoy sharing that with people and my photography and stuff. And that's why I do it. I just love it. Love to share it with others. So
yeah, definitely sets you apart, and it's super cool. So, and we've enjoyed this conversation for that reason. So,
well, yeah, we'll get you connected with Melissa. You guys will have you'll build a cool relationship there for sure. But no, we appreciate you coming on, Emily, and talking to us this morning and spending some time. We'll have to stay in touch. Hopefully that Southeast Ohio stuff comes back quicker than we all think. But nobody can
for sure
predict it. You never know. Maybe as we get to this last part of November and December, as deer become hungry and they're starting to look for does, like maybe something shows up and you're like, who's that? I don't know. And that begins the building process to next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything can happen. There's still plenty of year left, so you never know. Some miracle buck might show up from somewhere that has some good potential. So
we can all have hope, right?
Yeah.
Well, cool. We'll stick around for just 1 second. I want to make sure this uploads, but we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Rackhub.
Well, dude, sheds are starting to hit the ground.
Yeah, and although we usually don't find many of them, we've done pretty well this season so far.
I would say for just, a handful of walks, we've got a pile of sheds to show for it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, if shed season would end today, I think it was pretty successful.
So this year we're partnering with Rackhub. It's an antler mounting system for your sheds.
Yeah, and obviously people have watched our podcast. We've got this massive pile of sheds that are on the table at all times, but you guys took the time to set up Wide Boy Shed on the R1, which is a really cool way to now have that thing right off to my left-hand side during the podcast.
So some of these sheds just call for a little bit more appreciation, I guess. So rather than being on a pile on the table, we're going to mount them on the wall, and they look awesome. So
yeah. And so if anybody wants to try Rackhub, you can use the code HUNTR10, HUNTR10 at rackhub.com to get 10% off your order.
Use Rackhub to make the most of your shed season.
Emily Schaad Konkler.
Yeah.
AKA Emily Shad.
Well, we were just saying, like, man, how rare that is. Like, not to, like, I don't want to make a big deal about it, and, like, almost, like.
Well, I'm glad we connected because, like I was saying before, I mean, I've heard people talking about Emily, and more so just because I kind of pay attention to that Southeast Ohio, contingency of just who's down there and what people were killing. But it was the EHD stuff, unfortunately, is how we got connected, because somebody was like, hey, you need to talk to Emily. She just, her properties got smoked. And at the same time, we were hot into the, like, what can we do to fix things, or is there a mitigation or solution? And so that's how we got connected. And then as I was looking through, I'm like, holy shit, this girl's killing some slammers down there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so that was basically, I was like, hey, we should get Emily on and talk. And so, yeah, obviously, a killer down there, and in an area that I think is tough. Like the terrain is tough. The hunting pressure is hard to get those deer. I mean, the fact she's killed 7-8-year-old deer in Southern Ohio is like, whoa.
Yeah.
Not on big properties either.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, it's just like people like that with that mindset are super interesting to me. Like there's only so many people who
they're just driven.
Yeah. They're driven. They're disciplined. I think they can interpret information in a way that they can translate and turn into like a strategy. Mm-hmm. I think that is one of the coolest things about consistent big buck killers is just the ability to like take input, whether it's trail cam pictures, like sightings, sign, just maps, topography, stuff like that, and translate it into a system that consistently kills big deer. and even beyond that, different deer and different habitat types and stuff like that. Emily's had a ton of success in Southern Ohio. And just for a minute there after, the podcast was wrapping up, we're like, hey dude, like if you are this into it, like you need to experience, the Midwest kind of thing. And whether that's where it takes you eventually or, she's got Western passion, time consumed there with Western hunts and stuff too, is, it's like you're gonna have different phases and different, times to do that kind of thing. But for us, that's what it did. We're like, dude. Yeah.
And it's interesting. So, Martana killed a really nice 8-point in Iowa. And, he and I had the discussion that we've had previously.
You guys talked after?
Yeah. Okay. In fact, I was texting him when it was dying, just by chance. Like I saw his thing and he was like, grinding it out or whatever. And I was like, so I texted him, I was like, hey, how's Iowa going? He's like, dude, I just shot a Slammer 8. It's dying right now.
Oh, wow.
And, but we had the conversation of like the appreciation for Iowa is because we don't live in Iowa, and that's not a disrespect to the Iowa people. It's just, it's hard to understand what you have when it's all like it's there. And so it's the same with like, whether it's Illinois or Kansas or anywhere else, it's like, I'm not saying you wouldn't appreciate it, but like you also start setting the bar higher when that's what you live and expect. Yep. And that's a dangerous game because the bottom can crash out at any point, whether it's EHD or whatever, right? Or extra hunting pressure or changes around your property. And so when you set that bar high, the crash is harder. Whereas like where we're coming from, it's like the bar is set. Like we want to kill mature deer, but it's like it's set in a comfortable level. Like even when the EHD thing happens, like boy, that hurts. But she drove an hour away and found a buck that she was looking for just as good. So, and then when we go out to the Midwest, like we're heading to Kansas, it's like the bar is still set here. We don't automatically have a expectation bar because we're just not there. Like we don't understand. Like we want to kill something big, but it's not the norm necessarily.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a year-to-year thing, and it's about keeping expectations in check. It doesn't mean don't have high goals.
Sure.
But like, for instance, it's like, and I don't know, this one's fresh. So it's like, okay, how does that translate to like the rest of the season and or next season? It doesn't necessarily, I haven't had it in my head to where I'm like, I need to kill a 200-inch deer. It just hasn't.
You don't have one.
I don't have one.
Like you can't kill one if you don't have one.
Well, but you know what I mean? You could find one, you know what I mean? Guys do it. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, they do.
Well, how are you going to find one?
You just start poking. You start going and find.
You better have the money to do it.
Or the connections or dude, I could find a 200-inch deer.
It'd be tough.
Absolutely, it would be tough. That's the point.
And it could be costly.
It would definitely be costly. Not only financially, but
and then all of
time-wise. Those
factors then I think affect the like, not is it worth it, but the appreciation.
How so?
Like if you just, if you went and found one, you're like, yeah, I got one on this 100 acres, $20,000. Come hunt them. Like I have no attraction.
Definitely.
To that.
And it's kind of the point that I'm making here is like, I'm keeping in perspective what is realistic to do, and it's not to say we couldn't have a 200-inch deer on one of our farms or something, but it's like, I feel like in a very good place right now with like a very challenging but attainable goal with the time and financial constraints that we have, or even what I'm willing, like, dude, I could sacrifice more, but I'm not willing to,
Yeah. I mean,
like in theory, I could say, whatever, I'm moving to Iowa, moving to Kansas. You could make that sacrifice
for sure.
And you could achieve that goal.
Yep.
But
and how long would you feel? Well, and also how long would it satisfy the quench?
Sure.
Eventually, you'll hit the ceiling.
Yeah. Well, and you see guys that are like that have been, those your Lukowskis, your Bomars.
Lukowski's hit the ceiling and he's changed directions.
Yeah.
It's not that he doesn't go and kill whitetails, but he's more passionate and focused on elk.
Yeah.
In Montana.
And muleys, I think, is the favorite, but. Yeah, you're right. And I don't know necessarily like where we're circling with this, but it's just, it's important, I think, to keep goals in perspective and like, and what you're,
That's why age class is so cool because it is fairly attainable in every place. not guaranteed and not easy in a lot of places, just because of even what we were just talking about with Emily of people hunting or EHD or whatever. But, you know, if your goal is to kill a 5-year-old or older, or in some places a 4-year-old or older, pretty attainable.
Doable. Very hard. Yeah, I mean,
not easy.
Very hard to do consistently, you know. Even on, you know, I would call our farm at this point a managed farm, like in the Midwest in Illinois. You know, I mean, like, dude, killing this deer was not freaking easy. You know, and it may have been easier if we lived there, or you know, if somebody had, you know,
if you had more time,
you know, and that definitely is a challenge that we enjoy. I think it's like, how can we be effective with our time, you know, to get something like this killed?
I'm scattered for sure. Like that's a big focus for me in the next 2 years is like, I gotta get better.
Rein it in.
I'm too scattered. Like I haven't even hunted Kentucky besides with the kids a couple times. I've hunted Ohio twice.
I think cameras are a problem for you still.
We'll talk about it at some point. I am fully on the cell cams are destroying stuff, not just from a hunting side, but like from a mature buck side.
Right.
I'm open. I've got enough proof.
Very open to that.
I also think that they're destroying properties.
I think they could be.
I think if you're running 10 cameras on 100 acres, you're screwing yourself.
I think it's hurting other areas more. Like, so in Illinois, we've got a bunch of cameras. Do you think it's hurting that farm?
Mm-hmm.
You do?
Yep. I'm not saying that the deer aren't around, but I don't think that they're using the farm like they would. The mature deer, at least, are using the farm like they would if those cameras were SDs or not there.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that.
Yeah, interesting.
Yep. But, yeah, in other places, I think it's shutting farms down for use. And I bet they're using unfavorable habitat that just doesn't have that intrusion.
Mm-hmm.
Would be my guess.
Hard to isolate that variable completely.
It is. It's almost impossible. Like I pulled. This is Pennsylvania, 28 acres. I've got 4 or 5 cell cams on 28 acres, and I had 1 SD camera. And I pulled that SD card, and I had a 6-year-old buck on it 6 or 7 times in October. And I got that deer on one of the other cell cameras in October, one time. Like, could it be his pattern? Sure, absolutely. Could have been the area that he just was using that area more. Unlikely, though. Like, just the way that the other cameras are. Like, there were 3 other cameras within 200 yards of that camera, and I got him on one of them one time.
I think my observation at this point, or my opinion, would be that it probably deters mature buck movement. I do think that they maybe will avoid them to a point. I don't know if it's to the point where they will leave a farm because of it. You know, I think that from my perspective, with what I've seen is just that they'll avoid them and they'll use. I mean, just your here case in point. I mean, we had his area surrounded by 3 cell cameras, and we got his picture every once in a while, like at night and stuff.
Not a lot,
but
4 or 5 pictures in
not a lot
in 5 weeks.
Not a lot, but he was in there. I'm fairly confident. And so, and the 2 times that we saw him in person, both literally where I saw him and where he was going, we would not have gotten pictures of him. Is that just because that is the safest route, or is that because he is intentionally avoiding some of those cameras?
Hard to say. Could be both.
Hard to say.
But yeah, definitely something there for sure on those ones.
Well, and obviously I'm skeptical too, because like you and I were like debating about the ridge that I killed that 8-point on. You're like, you put a camera in there? I'm like, I don't think I want to. You're like, you got to have a camera in there. I'm like, it's too good. Like, I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, you know, it comes down to like, you're not going to get a different deer that you don't know is on the property, but for sure it's the difference between having pictures as intel and not having intel and just hunting it based on the right conditions.
I do think the less invasive you can be with them, like put them on your purple spots. You know what I mean? Spots where they almost expect deer movement.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I think, is where like and we got a couple pictures of it, but where you were killing this deer, he could have been avoiding that because there was a camera right in front of that stand. Which renders that stand.
But we did get pictures of him there.
Twice.
You know?
Twice.
Probably more than anywhere else. Like, I think that was like
north, we probably got him as much.
Yeah.
You know,
so like We got pictures of him, and some other 4 or 5-year-old.
But none down in the pinch a pinch. No pictures.
I don't think he was going down there.
None in the northeast corner.
Northeast. I don't think he was going there. I don't think he was there.
None after October 23rd in north.
Mm-hmm.
None in the Corn Cove.
The camera died for a few days, but then, yeah, dude, I just think that
once on Corn Cove Trail, but none in the Corn Cove.
I think it has as much to do with the cameras like you're talking about as it does just a 6-year-old deer's mentality during the rut.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they lock into he's got a super core area that he felt safe in. I'll draw you a circle on
I know where it's at. You think if you dropped a camera in there, you would have got pictures of him, or he would have avoided it?
I don't think he would have liked it.
I don't think he would have either.
He would have avoided it, probably.
I bet if it was an SD one and you picked it up in the spring, you would have got a fuckload of pictures of him.
Yeah, that I might agree with.
Yep. Yeah, not like eye level.
I agree.
Like right in
they
there.
They know they're there, dude. There's no question.
Mm-hmm.
And some seem to tolerate them. Some don't. Some do at certain times of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I think all of them tolerate it in the summertime. I think that's a testosterone brain function of like they're just not threatened by anything.
Mm-hmm.
You could like almost walk up on them and they're just like all standing in a bean field like what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
Like should we run? Are we scared of this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Versus like the moment that testosterone starts to kick up, I think they just get paranoid. They're like on edge.
It's amazing how different of an animal they are in mid-November than like August 1st.
Yeah.
Just night and day.
And that's not a pressure thing. Like people will say, well, it's because
you don't think there's a general sense that like there's more people in the woods. You don't think so?
No. I mean, look at our area where you killed that. There's people in the fields walking around doing combine stuff, driving trucks. Like they just don't care about that. I think it's purely testosterone driven in the brain.
I do think that there's an intangible pressure element that's hard to measure. Like I think.
You think that deer was pressured?
Well, I mean, not pressured, but like this deer probably saw more pressure than deer that live on the 80 recently.
You think so?
I think so. I think
from who? Us?
Mm-hmm.
Nah.
I think so. Dude, tally it up. How many times did you and I walk into the woods or on the edge where we don't normally during the season? Let's say 10 times, 15 times over the course of 2 weeks, maybe less, maybe 7, 8, 10 times.
Yeah,
that's like enough for them for sure to know. They're like, what's this doing here? Like, and there's farms that get none, zero. Either they don't get hunted or whatever. That's where they go. Honestly, I think that's why.
If the resources and habitats there, I don't think they go to lesser places.
I think pressure first. Yes, definitely will go to lesser places. 100% they will.
I don't know.
Come on, yeah.
Well, then why wasn't he on our 80?
Well, I just think there's a reality to their core areas too. They're at where they're at to a point unless you really push them out. Like we didn't push them out of there. It's not like I walked into that CRP. We had enough pressure to get them killed and not enough to push them out. But at the same time, dude, like we're seeing more daylight bucks on the 80, right? For sure, more.
Maybe.
You don't think so? I mean, acreage comparison, like on a per acre basis. Like,
I mean, who are we seeing now? Like, there's not really.
You were seeing the 9. You were seeing.
Yeah, but I mean, he has none of them have daylighted here. Well, Kamikaze's dead.
The 9 just he was close.
Like 5:45, 6 o'clock.
You also have lockdown to account for right now. Like I think there's just not as much movement. But like in the time that we've been since season opened or since we got cameras on these things, like. That farm's got less pressure. And,
probably. And
I would say debatably it's had more daylight movement on it. Just an observation.
Yeah.
I just think, yeah, dude, they know when you're in there. They know. Like if they come across your trail, there's places that can go where that never happens. And that's where those old ones figure out.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's how they survive.
I mean, dude, we haven't stepped foot in that pocket that he lives in in years.
Yeah.
Like maybe one time in shed season, like we just skimmed past it.
Yep. Yeah, that's about it.
They know that. They figure out like, I can live here for years. Nobody's gonna mess with me in here.
Yeah, maybe that's just the geography and topography and habitat types. Like I just don't think they can do that in big woods country.
I don't know.
There's just not enough resources for them there. I think they have to move to get the resources.
Yeah, it may be. Maybe.
Cool. Well, we appreciate everyone listening to episode 288 with Emily Schaad Konkler, and we will catch you all on the next one.
Later.
Take me